They've been spectacular. What are they point-wise now?
They are second in points per game.
That's amazing. So
they were 30th last year.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
That's incredible.
Now, clearly, we're not talking about the defense when we have this conversation. We're talking about the offense. And the win this way is run first and run a lot. Run more than you throw, which is something that we're not accustomed to seeing in the NFL. Obviously, game plans allow you to do that every once in a while. I imagine there have been games this year where even Patrick Mahomes has handed the ball off more than he has actually thrown in a game.
Sure.
But that's like once in a while. The norm is what you saw the other night in the Cincinnati-Dallas game where Joe Burrow throws for, 40-some times. We've seen games this year where he's thrown for over 50 twice now this season. The norm is that 30 to 35 pass range, and sometimes quarterbacks will go up to 40. That's not what the Eagles do. What the Eagles are doing is 20 to 23, if not less. We saw just 19 pass attempts out of Jalen Hurts against the Baltimore Ravens, a game in which they went on the road in Baltimore in a cold, snowy weathered game, and they won the football game by using more of an aggressive attack on the ground, being the more physical team. So before we get to the numbers that the great John Kincade found that will help my case, I do want to give our opinions first. Now, you know my opinion when it comes to this. I believe they can because I believe this is the best way for them to win. Would I love to have a pass-happy attack where my quarterback's completing 70% of his passes but also throwing for over 300 yards? Yes. Duh. I would love that. I've seen battles between the Chiefs and Bills where in the final 2 minutes, both teams score 3 touchdowns because they're just going bang, bang, bang down the field. This Eagles offense isn't necessarily built to do that, or it is built to do that, but maybe the quarterback isn't built to do that. And again, I need this to be clear. I'm not trying to diminish what Jalen Hurts has done in his career and is doing this year. I just think his style of quarterback play is different than others. Everybody has their strengths. Everybody has their weaknesses. And I think one of the strengths for Jalen Hurts is being able to game manage an offense. Clearly, he had a horrible game against the Panthers because game managing also means hitting your open receivers, and he didn't even throw it to his open receivers, specifically A.J. Brown. That's what led to this crazy week that we've had so far.
And it's been weird.
But
it's been a weird week. For an 11-2 team, this has been, again, a really weird week.
So bottom line is, I'll shut my mouth up here, I believe they can win this way, especially because I believe this is the best way for them to win. I think this team is built through the trenches, both offensively and defensively. They have the best running back in the league. They do have an incredible allotment of receivers in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and when Dallas Goedert is back, he's a great catching tight end as well. As long as Jalen Hurts is throwing to the open receivers, who, by the way, the great offensive coordinator in Kellen Moore is scheming those guys open, then he's going to be efficient. I don't care if you only throw 22 times. If you're completing 70% of the passes, which Jalen Hurts is close to doing that mark this year, then you're going to be efficient and you're going to have big plays. And I'll give you some more numbers as the show goes on to try to back up my case. Now, John, before you give your numbers, you do have an opinion when it comes to this question. Do you believe the Eagles can win big this way with this style of offense?
Can they win? Could they win a Super Bowl? Sure. Could they? Do I think it's less likely? Yes. Do I think that it will surprise me a little bit more? Yes. But I think that there still is a month. A month is if you take it September, like I think Connor made the number, that the Eagles' last loss, the Phillies hadn't clinched the Phillies clinched the division or clinched the playoffs like the next something like that.
Very close to it.
I mean, it's been a long time since we've seen a loss. September to October, by the time we got to Halloween, our opinion on the Eagles completely changed. By the time we went from Halloween to late November, our opinion even got better.
Right.
So I truly believe by the end of December, I may feel a lot more at peace with what they've done. And I feel really good right now. On a scale of 1 to 10, I probably feel like an 8 on the Birds right now. So sure, could they win? I am a little concerned that they will, but it all depends on the matchup. and that's the key.
Oh, yeah,
That is the key.
that's big as well.
The matchups of who's going to fall in their path, and I think there are some things that are going to point to your favor on this one.
Now, Connor, you've been very adamant about your wishes for a certain style of play. So do you believe they can win this way?
I do, but the only reason I believe they can win this way is because of history, right? If this was the first season that we've seen of Jalen Hurts, if you use the Men in Black clicker thing and just wipe my memory of anything before 2024, my answer would be no. But because I saw what the guy did in 2022 and in the postseason in 2022 and in the Super Bowl in that year, I know that they can win this way. The problem is every day that we get further away from seeing Jalen Hurts as that type of quarterback, I get a little more nervous that he does not have that in him right now. And I don't know that that's fair because we saw it 2 years ago, but I'd like to see it now. That's what makes me nervous. Not so much that I don't think they're capable of doing things differently. It's that I haven't seen it for a while, and the longer you go without seeing something, the more worried you are that it never comes back.
Is that like, Connor, if I was to draw a parallel there, is that like when you've seen the really great stretches of Nola where he's just almost lights out?
Yeah.
And then you see the home runs and everything like that, and you wonder which Nola you're going to get type of thing with Hurts?
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Right, and I just like to see, remember what we saw from Nola down the stretch this year? He had, 3 good starts before the end of the year, and we're like, okay, he's ready for the postseason. That's all I want to see. It's not that I don't think Hurts is incapable. And the funniest thing is, the thing that makes me most confident about them being able to win this way is the defense. Because if you keep teams to 16 points a game, you can run the ball.
Well, yeah, sometimes your offense and defense can be a marriage, and if it works this way, then, yeah, you absolutely could win. And so a couple of things that I just want to point out when it comes to Jalen Hurts. Obviously, his total yardage is probably going to be toward his lowest in his career when it comes to a single season, right? He's only at 2,600 yards right now. He's at.
Well, I honestly don't think that's necessarily true. I do think he's going to. It's going to be near the bottom.
Yeah.
But I think you're going to also see those numbers spike.
Yeah, there's going to be probably a couple games here where he throws for 250.
Got some bad teams.
Yeah.
Pass defense teams coming up. Dallas and the Giants. Dallas and Washington being 2 of them.
But here's what I really want to point out. And this is for a lot of people that I think this would be good for a lot of people to hear about the passing offense and whether or not it can work this way. To me, efficiency is what I care about right now. I'm not asking Jalen Hurts to be Patrick Mahomes. I'm not asking Jalen Hurts to be what I believe will be the league MVP this year in Josh Allen, who's putting that team on his back. I'm asking Jalen Hurts to be efficient. You have 2 legitimate wide receivers and the best running back in the league. His completion percentage this year is 68.3%. If the season were to end today, that's a career high for him. In terms of yards per attempt, air yards, when he's throwing the ball to where the receiver's at, he is at 8 yards per attempt, which is tied right now for his career high, which was in 2022, which is the best season that he's ever had. 11.7 is yards per completion. That is 3rd highest, but just by 0.2 of a point in 2021 and 0.4 of a point in 2022. So he's still right around that range of when we were looking at him as a prime passer, right? His rating. I know he's only averaging 200 yards per game, whereas 2 years ago it was 246. His rating this year is 102.4, whereas that year it was 101.5. So he has a higher rating this year than he did in his almost MVP-like season. So there are specific stats that I'm looking at in terms of efficiency, not total yards, but efficiency. And here's the biggest one. 5 interceptions. If the season were to end today, and look, there's still 4 games to be played. If the season were to end today, that would be his best total in terms of less amount of interceptions over a course of a season as a starter. The second best was 6 in that MVP type season, which, by the way, he missed 2 games in. So efficiency from Jalen Hurts has been great, especially since the bye week. 5 interceptions, just 1 since the bye week.
In the summer, I said that I thought Jalen Hurts would have his best statistical year in every category.
Yes, you did.
He looks like he's very well on touch with that, except for yards.
Yeah.
Yards is not going to translate. But every other category, he's gotten better in. And I think one of the things that's strange is he very well might get past 2022's passing touchdowns.
He could.
That's wild. Like, to me, that's wild because we're talking about him not being as good a passer.
Yeah, he had 2 this past weekend that he threw it into the end zone, which is something that we weren't seeing much of.
I mean, if he was to get 7 over the last 4 games, he is going to, and I don't know that he's going to play in the last game, the way things could potentially work out. If he gets 7 touchdown passes down the stretch against some bad teams, he's going to have his best passing touchdown year that he's had. Like, I mean, there's a lot about Jalen Hurts' year that I believe has been hyperbole, has been people not liking the style. And I heard Connor on your pregame show when I heard you guys, it was a week ago before the Ravens game. And Connor was bringing about the point is, about people, we always talk about how do the Eagles prepare to play the Ravens? How do the Eagles prepare to play the Rams? And Connor's like, what about us and teams preparing for us? But Connor brought up the point that he does prefer the air attack. But is it just a visual thing for you?
No, it's certainly a personal bias. It's not that I think the air attack is the most efficient. I think the air attack is the most fun. But that's just me talking. The NFL talking for the past decade would tell you that passing the ball is more important than running the ball.
Yeah, Bill has brought up numerous times now that it's the last 15 years, 14 of the 15 Super Bowl winners have been top, I think, 15 passing teams. Eagles are 31st. The one team that wasn't was the Seattle Seahawks with Russell Wilson, Marshawn Lynch, and the Legion of Doom defense.
Which is a really good one if you haven't done your research.
And look, the Eagles defense is pretty good.
Yeah,
this
it
year.
is. No, this Eagles defense is as good as we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, so maybe they can rewrite history. And it goes back to playing to their strengths, which we'll talk about this all day today. But I do want to play something for you. We're hoping to have our man Dan Orlovsky on at some point today. We're just trying to narrow down a time. But
he's been chiming in on a lot of our discussions.
He really has been. He's a P1.
We appreciate that.
Here he was 2 days ago. So this would have been Monday morning on, I believe it was Get Up, one of the shows on ESPN, of course. And he was talking about the Eagles' offense and it's being elementary. Take a listen to what he had to say.
The passing attack of the Philadelphia Eagles, if you were to sum it up in one word, what would that word be?
Simple. It's very simple. It's very elementary. It's very basic. AJ, one-on-one, or let's take a shot and hit a big play down the field. Yesterday, AJ Brown got his first catch, his first touch, his first target at second quarter with 1:26 left on the clock. That's a problem, okay? Now, that has not been the case all season long. It was very centric to yesterday, but they will have to have a better pass game in the playoffs to go win.
So he says it's elementary. So what we're trying to do today is if he can come on today, and we're hoping he can, is ask him the same question. Can it win this way? Like when you hear the offense is elementary, like that doesn't sound great.
No, it sounds rudimentary to me.
But
it sounds that's bad.
When I wanted it to be simplified, this is kind of what I wanted. Now it's a little extreme, only 19 pass attempts in a game 2 games ago. But they won against the Ravens. And that was probably the best way to go against them.
There are some numbers, though, that I think will make you feel better.
See, this is why you're a good partner.
I didn't want to be a good partner. I'm being honest.
You guys root for my bets to lose,
no,
but
you're
trying to help out my opinion.
I wanted to find the contrary point to that maybe, this style can win. And I heard Mike Missanelli believe this. He goes, they can win with this style in the postseason. So I tried to find the contrary because to me, I always think that's what you do. If you believe something, you go and you find out why what you believe might not be true.
Okay.
And then sometimes it reinforces what you believe. What I found is this team can absolutely win in the postseason the way that they're playing right now.
Can you tell me why?
I can tell you a few things why. One of them being, how about if I said to you the 3 keys for playoff success, it's ESPN stats and information. 3 keys for playoff success over the last, when did Houston come in? Okay, I'm going to say like 20-plus years.
Right?
Like 20-plus years.
Yeah.
Playoff success, what do you think are the 3 categories you look for the most?
Here we go. Winning the turnover battle, time of possession, and having more points than the other team. Those are my
Having more points than the other team? Would you stop it? How about time of possession is absolutely one of them.
Beautiful.
How about your ability to keep the other team from scoring your points per game?
Yeah, so having more points wins.
Is the points you allow.
Yeah,
not having more points. The points you allow.
Yeah.
Right there, the Eagles right now, 6th in time of possession. That's really good.
Yeah.
The Eagles right now second in points per game allowed.
Yeah.
That's
and
really
by
good.
the way, that's a good marriage because you're also not making the defense be on the field as much.
What's the
because you're
third,
killing
Connor?
clock.
What would be the third? Passing?
Think of what I'm saying to you here about it.
Listen, I would have gone
That plays to Andrew's argument.
I would have
Total
gone with
rushing
turnover
yards.
differential.
Is rush efficiency.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Since the Houston Texans came in, those three statistics have been the most consistent of ending up in the top 4 categories of teams that advance to Super Bowls. I would say that I heard Mike say it the other day on Monday, that he really believed, yeah, they could get to a Super Bowl playing this style. I heard you say it yesterday. And in my head, I was saying, that's not right. The 30th in passing is not right. That doesn't make sense. But those 3 categories should be enough to carry them statistically. Here's the only caveat.
Okay.
The Lions are better in time of possession.
Yeah.
Okay? The Lions are exactly the same in points allowed. So there is nothing. The Lions and the Eagles both give up 18 points a game, and we're 13 games into the season. Their defense, which everybody thinks is so banged up and so, their defense has given up 18. And by the way, they played a much tougher schedule. So that is where I would give you a concern.
Well, that's why I have them on the same tier, and that's why I mean, how many times have we said they're very equal? They mirror each other.
The rushing
Hurts Goff, the game manager quarterback, the running attack with Montgomery Gibbs versus Barkley.
40 yards. The Eagles are 40 yards a game more. But the Eagles have actually been playing with the lead really significantly a lot in the fourth quarter, a lot more than we give them credit for.
Yeah.
Which actually skews some of those rushing numbers.
Well, that's why, again, Jalen Hurts has only thrown 67 total passes in the fourth quarter this year.
But the good news is this. On everything else, I said to you guys earlier, who's standing in their path if it's not Detroit? As I'm doing, just making sure I got the numbers for you. Minnesota, Green Bay,
division.
Maybe Tampa Bay. Those 3. They're the teams that because Tampa Bay and their success against the Eagles. The Eagles are clearly better in that metrics than Minnesota, Green Bay. Minnesota being the next best team, Green Bay being the next best, Tampa being the next best. It's the Eagles and Detroit, boys. It's that NFC title game, which seems like it's a foregone conclusion. The numbers would tell you that it is.
See, this is why you're a great partner. He's here to help me out, to make my case.
I didn't want to, though.
He's here to make my case. Now, here's how I'll try to make you happy as well. Of course, we would love to hear from you at 610-632-0975. This style of offense, do you believe the Eagles can win big this way? Let's talk about it. But, John, if you are still worried about what took place this weekend between AJ and then Jalen and then, of course, what Brandon Graham said on Monday, I'm going to try to make you feel better.
That's good.
Because the positive PR spin text zone is out.
Uh-oh.
I guess this is a good thing.
I got to get on this text thread.
This is ridiculous. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The Eagles clear in the air. I'm Connor Thomas, and this update is brought to you by Bradford White Water Heaters. When you need a new water heater, choose one that's built to be the best. Choose Bradford White. The Eagles are starting to turn their attention to their matchup with the Pittsburgh Steelers coming up this Sunday, but they're still dealing with the wake of Brandon Graham's comments about Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown's relationship that went public on Monday. Offensive coordinator Kellen Moore talked about it yesterday in his media availability.
For players, it's usually about their ability to perform, and we got a special group. I think they work really, really well together. AJ, Jalen, Saquon, Smitty, like the whole group. I think when you spend each and every day around the building and just see these guys connecting.
So the OC doesn't seem worried. Nick Sirianni is in agreement with his offensive coordinator, saying Brown is not blaming Hurts, and the vibes around the team are good. They remind him of 2022. That team, well, they ended up in the Super Bowl. So maybe a bigger deal being made of this than it should be, but something that we're going to keep an eye on regardless as the week progresses. The Flyers took down the Blue Jackets 5-3 last night in Columbus. Travis Konecny had 2 goals. Matvei Michkov 2 assists. They'll be back home on Friday to play the Detroit Red Wings. The Sixers are still off. They'll play again Friday against Indiana. Adam Schefter joins us coming up at 8 a.m. Rob Motti will join us at 7:30. This update's also brought to you by Popeyes. It's football season in Philly, so you got to have some grub. Popeyes is just the draw for any fan of the Birds. We're talking wings, baby, so fly to Popeyes Fly and fill up on wings in 7 delicious flavors. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Mike Missanelli.
7:30 on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic on this Adam Schefter Wednesday morning. Shefty joins us coming up at 8 o'clock. Before that, our man Rob Motti from the Associated Press, he's going to be joining us coming up at 7:30. Rob is one of those guys that is very connected with the Eagles and the players. Because Rob isn't like a hot takey and let me get everything out there right away guy, I think players respect him a little bit more and feel more comfortable telling him things. That's just my read on the situation and knowing Rob. I'm curious to get his thoughts on what took place this week.
I think one of the things with Rob Motti and with some of the others that I observe the guys who have great, like I always tell you about Derek Gunn.
Yes.
Derek Gunn has great, just the connections that
he
are
will
made.
be joining us one day next week. I tried getting him on to talk
Sure.
about BG for what he,
Right.
because obviously we all know that Derek Gunn and BG are very
Right.
tight, but he's away right now.
But you know what? One of the things is that for doing that for a living, is you have to have the players have to respect that you're there often. They know you, they see you,
Right.
and you've also never burned them. A lot of the times they'll try you with a little information and they'll talk to you and they'll see if it gets back to anybody.
Yeah.
And then when they know they can trust you, then you become the spigot of information, and then they will tell other players. You can trust Salciunas.
Hey, trust that guy.
You
Yeah.
can trust this guy. He's not gonna burn you.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't know. See, I think it's Motti's built like an NFL player. They might just think he's like a guy on special teams that
That could
I
help.
haven't seen in a little bit.
He could be a gunner.
He fits in a
that
lot.
could help.
Not a one of our gun.
No,
not Brendan.
Not
gun.
Brendan Gunn.
No.
So Rob's going to be joining us coming up at 7:30.
This guy's built like a man.
To talk about everything that's going on.
Ouch.
Now, a couple of things I want to play for you. So we're going to play you some clips from Tim McManus. Tim was on with the Mike Missanelli show yesterday because Tim, if you remember, was
He's
the guy.
another one.
He's the one that put out all those texts from Brandon Graham, per Brandon Graham's permission, by the way.
Sure.
About what was said on Monday. But before we play to what I want to say is real reporting. Yesterday on the NFL Network, and I'm not trying to look, Ian Rappaport is amazing. He got to this spot in his life by working his ass off. But I also believe he is sometimes used for the positive PR spin. I just remember the random Nolan Smith tweet this offseason.
Oh, yes.
Oh, they're expecting big things, and that was right around when the Hassan Reddick stuff was going on, and I think that was hey, just so you know,
Here's why we're not worried.
we're expecting big things out of Nolan Smith this year. Look, he's been okay. He's been better than last year.
John Heyman in Major League Baseball
Boris.
is known with Boris.
Yeah.
Look, our own Adam Schefter. Everyone knows that Adam Schefter has somebody within the Eagles facility talks to him very intently.
Right.
Which, by the way, gives him a great advantage of knowing information about what's going on. But also, though, there's also the positive spin that's being fed to him, so you have to use a filter.
So here's Rappaport yesterday on the NFL Network trying to explain how this A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts fiasco could be a good thing for the Eagles.
It's always a little weird and alarming when you realize that there's 53 people in the locker room, actually more when you include practice squad, and they are not all best friends. And that can be jarring, and it can be kind of off-putting, and you imagine they're practicing in the locker room, then afterward they all go out to dinner, and then they go out for maybe drinks, and then they say goodnight and see each other the next morning. Like, that is not always the reality in the NFL or in literally any job, although for us it actually is, but not always in every job. So the fact that they may not be best friends, it doesn't sound great to the public, but it also doesn't matter. I would also say this, though. They're winning, and they're rolling, they're running the heck out of the ball. To bring up the fact that the passing game hasn't been what they wanted is good. To get it out in the open is good. A little painful right now, but eventually good. Because what it forces you to do is take the problems head on and say, okay, is this not good enough? Great. Let's focus on it. Let's get better. Because, yes, they're winning, but with this formula, they have to be perfect to win every game when it counts most. So in the end, it's a little ugly and weird, but I don't think necessarily all around bad.
So two things to unpack here. The first part, not everybody's best friends in a locker room. He's right.
That's clear.
Problem is Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown are legitimately best friends. They are. And for him to say, it's okay that they have beef, guys in locker rooms aren't best friends. No, Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown are best friends. And so if there is some sort of beef that I don't know if he was hinting at that in that clip, but
I think he was hinting that
he was trying to fluff it off like, they're not
Right.
best friends. Well, but they are.
yeah.
Like they are best
Look,
friends.
I mean, I don't know how anybody else judges that. Like I don't know how anybody else says who your best friend is.
Right. Well, they talk about it.
Yeah, but they haven't talked about that in a long time.
Right. So that's
I mean,
why
it's
it is alarming if he's hinting that there is some sort of
Well, I
issue
mean, I
when
think
these two guys are supposed to be
but
as
the thing
tight as can be.
So I speak to someone yesterday that again, an Eagles source that I trust incredibly well.
Mm-hmm.
And he says if the whole thing about Sirianni saying he sees them in the facility always together. And I was told that if there's any time that Jalen Hurts has been putting fork to mouth in the facility or lounging around in the facility, that 4 out of 5 times you are going to see A.J. Brown right with him at his side. And that includes recently.
Well, I will
So
say
that tells me that I don't believe that there is some major rift going on between these two individuals.
I will say
don't
that
believe that.
Nick Sirianni at a press conference last year when he was asked about his relationship with Jalen said, "Oh, we eat lunch together."
Yeah. But I know this. I guess what? I trust this. Source. I know
I
it
got
for a
you.
fact.
Yeah.
That these two get along and have been getting along, and and we're talking recently.
Right.
So I believe any talk of a major rift is fiction.
There's
Now-
a legitimate chance that Brandon Graham misspoke or misread the situation.
Could have misread the situation.
Right. Like,
And-
I'm not going to say that, like, if A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts come out and say, nah, we're good. Like, that's not a major surprise that this could be incorrectly conveyed to the public.
I was told by the same person there is a chance that a few years ago they were best of friends, like best friends, inside, outside of work, whatever, and that has potentially changed. But to display them as having some major rift where they don't like each other and don't get along,
That would be
I was
incorrect.
told, I'll quote, I was told complete fiction.
Okay. Well,
So
that's good to
that
hear.
makes me feel good.
Now, the other part of this positive spin zone there that we have to be careful with. Oh, this is a good thing. They got it out in the open.
Really?
That means they can work on it. Yeah, in theory. But what if it doesn't get better? And again, I don't know that it will. I think this is the offense that is best suited for them in order to win with the players that they have. So if the passing game, because they call it the passing game, doesn't get better, and A.J. Brown has already voiced his displeasure, and if it does not get better, and they're trying to force it to get better, and it doesn't, was this a good thing?
First of all, I don't believe in any way. I also heard spun yesterday. I do not believe that this was a calculated effort on the fact of Brandon Graham to reveal something. Some people have thought that. Oh, yeah,
no.
he thought this was something that needed BS. That is the stupidest thing that I've heard.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you don't go on the retreat and run away tour.
Right.
Which he did, if that's the case. But
if Rap Sheet's saying this is a good thing, I don't know if it is, because if it doesn't get better, there's nothing that tells me right now that Jalen Hurts is going to throw for 400 yards next week.
Well, telling me, though, that I believe this could be, there is a chance that A.J. Brown was talking about Kellen Moore and the head coach. More than he was talking about the guy that slings the ball.
But it's a weird day to say that when you're wide
No,
open
I got
5
you.
times and
No,
the
I got
quarterback
you.
doesn't throw it your way.
Because to me, Kellen Moore, his wide receivers in his career as an offensive coordinator, towards the top 3 in yards after catch.
Yeah.
He knows how to scheme guys open. And they were open on Sunday.
Yeah, so that's why I don't know. Like, it's a weird day to call out Kellen Moore if you're wide open 5 times and the quarterback doesn't look your way or does look your way and doesn't pull the trigger.
Yeah, it is. But I got to tell you, I 100% agree with what Rappaport said at the end of that clip. The best friends thing is kind of weird because they were reported best friends.
Yeah.
But everything past that point of, like, they have to be near perfect to win games this way. The passing offense getting better is something they're going to need. This brings that to attention of the team. It's what they're going to be thinking about and focused on. I do think all of that is a good thing because I think it needs to improve. And I think saying that publicly, it's like when you set a goal for yourself, you tell people what your goal is so that you're held accountable by, like, everybody knows this is what my plan is. I've got to deliver on this. So I don't know. I do think it's a good thing, and I agree heavily with
So
what
you
he
do
ended that
think
clip
it's a
with.
good thing?
I mean, yes, because I do think this team is in a spot where they have corrected mistakes this year, and I have faith in them to correct mistakes again.
I think that is a rational way to look at it. Is you're sort of saying they deserve your
Yeah, they deserve
faith.
trust.
Your
They
trust.
deserve trust.
Yeah.
Post bye week, they deserve this trust.
I think we all have the same thought. AJ's going to go off this weekend. Like, he's going to have
What about the joke?
100 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like, I think we're all like expecting the same thing, but we got to see it.
Oh yeah.
All right, so coming up next, we'll check our text line. Do you believe the Eagles can win this way? 610-632-0975. But I do want to play some clips for you. Tim McManus was on with the Mike Missanelli show yesterday. He talked about Brandon Graham and what he had to say on Monday. He talked about A.J. Brown and what he had to say about Sunday. And, John, you mentioned maybe there is something between Hurts and A.J.
Right.
He talked about that as well. And I think that might be the most important one to hear. So I'll play those 3 clips for you coming up next. It is Kincade Salciunas on this Wednesday morning right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Bill Colarulo.
When you have Super Bowl aspirations.
97.5 The Fanatic. Our question for you today, can the Eagles win this way, this style of offense? It's been something that we've talked about over the last couple of weeks, but obviously it probably was the worst performance in terms of the passing game during this winning streak, right? Where it didn't look...
No, it was the worst. That was absolutely the worst.
Right? It didn't look efficient. It's not like the numbers were necessarily the worst thing, even though they were low, but it was the efficiency. It's not throwing the ball to A.J. Brown when he's wide open. But he was open, so that means he's there. It's just Hurts needs to pull the trigger. This way, what we talk about is the run first and, drastically run first. I believe it's 55% run plays for the Eagles over the course of the season, which I don't know. I got to look up what the average is this year past the run. I believe the Eagles are 55%.
But I was just looking at this before the show. So let me give you I can give it to you. Give it to you right now. Run pass differential. Right now, the number one in the NFL for the pass play percentage. The Eagles are last.
At what, 45%?
43%.
Oh, so even lower, yeah.
The Eagles are at 43%. If you're going by pass percentage, the Pittsburgh Steelers are the second. This game on Sunday,
it
may be done. It could be done like sands through the hourglass, baby. It could be done 4:25 start. It could be done by 7:10. I mean, this thing could blow past you.
Yeah.
The two least likely teams to pass play this Sunday.
That's actually great for betting.
The Eagles and the Steelers. Think about it.
Yeah, unders.
Think about unders. Think about it. And think about, a time of possession type stuff.
Right.
So the Eagles and the Steelers are 1-2.
And what's the average? Like, what's the middle of the pack?
The middle of the pack is really surprising to me, is 57% pass.
I'm not surprised by that.
So the Eagles are 14% less.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. What they're doing is drastically different than what other teams are doing.
The pass percentage, I do believe, is a little higher than like I'm going to go last year.
Okay.
No, I'm wrong.
No, I'm not surprised by this.
Last year was 59.
For the middle of the pack.
Last year was middle of the pack was 59-41. So almost, 6-4.
So do you believe the Eagles can win this way? We'll dive deeper into this coming up in the 7 o'clock hour. Have that website open because I wonder the other playoff teams that the Eagles could potentially face, where are they at? Because there could be a game where the 43% of the time passing team is going up against
I could give it to you right here.
Well, I want to play these Tim McManus
good.
clips,
Let's do
but
it.
we'll do
Tim
that in the
McManus
7 o'clock hour.
It's great hearing him yesterday.
Yes, it was. So first, we'll start with Tim talking about Brandon Graham. So obviously that was the big story yesterday. So he came on with the Mike Missanelli show, and he talked about Brandon Graham's comments Monday night. And then, of course, Tim was the guy that Brandon Graham reached out to, or one of the reporters that Brandon Graham reached out to try to get more information out there, apologizing, explaining himself a little bit more. Here's Tim talking about BG.
My first response was to text Graham and basically said, let's talk if you want to talk. So he ended up giving me a call to kind of give his context about his original comments and trying to put it in proper perspective, and basically saying that he went too far with his comments, and basically like he was he didn't have the full story, but based off of the video that he saw of A.J. Brown's comments post-game, he was making some assumptions that he probably shouldn't have made. But obviously, Mike, by that point, there was a whole lot of speculation / fireworks that were going off.
Yeah, people got to him. But, he's an honest guy. So basically he says the person that's complaining needs to be accountable. And I'm just being honest. And he knows this, meaning A.J. Brown. So he put the spotlight on A.J. Brown. And this is not the first time A.J. Brown did this. So was Brandon Graham accurate here, or did he go overboard?
Okay.
Did he or that's the question.
Thanks for asking the question, Mike.
I like that.
We got to give you some of our paycheck. So he was talking about BG. Now, the alarming thing there is that Brandon Graham, per Tim McManus, had his thoughts based off of the video he saw from A.J. Brown. So he literally watched that A.J. Brown post-game clip and then goes on a radio show.
His radio show.
And says this is why this is happening. So the whole they used to be friends, but things have changed. That was all he just did that on his own.
He did.
That's bad.
That is bad.
That's even worse. Like hearing that from Tim,
I'm shocked that he
makes BG seem even worse.
I'm shocked that he.
Oh my God.
Because you know the respect as I know you have for Brandon Graham. It's so that this is something that I would expect of a loudmouthed rookie.
Yeah.
Or somebody who's never been in the spotlight. This is very surprising. And by the way, again, he didn't do this on purpose. He didn't air out dirty laundry as some sort of calculated plan to get something fixed. He didn't. This was dumb.
Yeah.
This was a dumb moment for Brandon Graham.
Tim straight up reported that BG basically saw a video and said, let me talk about that instead of let me talk to my teammates first. Anyways, Tim McManus continued, and he talked about how A.J. Brown. Now, this was something that I was upset about the last 2 days. The fact that this even started when A.J. Brown speaks out. Here's Tim talking about A.J. Brown, how he handled himself on Sunday.
Well, so I think he's accurate in the fact of, like, the main thesis of his argument is that this stuff should be handled more in-house, I think, is the correct one. I mean, just consider everything. It's a 9-game winning streak, Mike. They improved to 11-2. They still have a chance for the number 1 seed. I would say that the vibes around this team have been pretty good overall. That they had sort of moved past the collapse, and now they're celebrating with one another after touchdowns and interceptions, and everything feels pretty good. And then they have a clunker of a passing game against Carolina, and next thing you know, Brown's throwing his helmet down on the sideline, and he's terse in his explanations post-game, and that led to something else, which was Brandon Graham having his own comments. So obviously a mistake for Graham to go all the way down the road that he went down. I think that he was accurate in the fact of, listen, Brown can't be handling his business this way. You have to avoid some of the turmoil that engulfed this team last year. And so, yes, I think that part of his comments were correct.
I love A.J. Brown, and he's very, very talented. But, yeah, I mean, I didn't like that it became public on Sunday. It didn't have to.
It didn't have to, but I still don't have a problem with what he said.
No, like it does have to improve. He wasn't, again, the message was not wrong. I just don't think the message needed to be public.
No, it didn't need to be public. Just don't air that out.
And that's what started all of this. Like, if we're looking at who started this, like, I know a lot of the attention was what Brandon Graham had to say. What Brandon Graham had to say never happens if A.J. Brown doesn't throw his helmet on the sideline and start bad-mouthing the passing game.
I got more to keep you happy in the next hour.
All right, I like that. But also, one more clip from Tim coming your way next. He says that there is a little bit of tension between QB1 and wide receiver 1. We'll hear that next on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The Birds are preparing for Pittsburgh. I'm Connor Thomas, and this update's brought to you by Philly Sports Trips. Join Andrew Salciunas in Clearwater Beach next March for the spring training trip of a lifetime. Go to phillysportstrips.com and place a small deposit to reserve your spot. That's phillysportstrips.com. The Eagles are starting to turn their attention to their matchup with the Pittsburgh Steelers coming up this Sunday, a 4:25 p.m. game at Lincoln Financial Field, and they're still dealing with the wake of Brandon Graham's comments about Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown's relationship, and also A.J. Brown's postgame comments about the passing game, while offensive coordinator Kellen Moore talked about it, tried to pour some water on the fire yesterday.
For players, it's usually about their ability to perform, and we got a special group. I think they work really, really well together. AJ, Jalen, Saquon, Smitty, like the whole group. I think when you spend each and every day around the building, you just see these guys connecting.
Nick Sirianni agreed with that connection, saying that Brown is not blaming Hurts, and the vibes around the team are good, like 2022. So that's some good news for the Eagles on that front. We'll keep an eye on the story as well. The Flyers took down the Columbus Blue Jackets 5-3 last night up in Ohio. Travis Konecny, 2 goals. Matvei Michkov, 2 assists. They'll be back home on Friday to play the Red Wings. The Sixers are still off. They'll play again Friday at home against Indiana. We'll talk to Rob Motti coming up at 7:30. Adam Schechter of ESPN at 8 a.m. This update's also brought to you by PayPal. Get exclusive cashback offers in the app and with the PayPal debit card. Stack 5% more in your chosen monthly category on up to $1,000 in purchases. Don't just pay, PayPal. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni on their win over Carolina.
Good morning to you. Adam Schefter will be joining us coming up in an hour. He joins us every single Wednesday at 8 o'clock. Our man Rob Motti, who is very connected with the Eagles and the NFL, he'll be joining us coming up at 7:30. We can obviously talk about the Eagles as a team itself and, of course, looking ahead toward the playoffs and everything. But obviously one of the biggest stories still this week is everything that has transpired since Sunday. The A.J. Brown comments after the game talking about the passing attack and how that needs to improve. Again, not wrong in what he had to say, but obviously it didn't come off great the way he said it, maybe his attitude during it, and it led to a lot of questions. And it led to questions not just for Kincade and Salciunas. It clearly led to questions from Brandon Graham. We played you a clip last segment from Tim McManus that he told us that BG saw the video of A.J. Brown after the game Sunday and then proceeded to go on his radio show and talk about it and make assumptions about their friendship, which is wild.
I'm floored by that.
I didn't know that until this morning when I listened to the clip. I had no idea.
No, I didn't know that either.
That BG was just like, oh, man, AJ looks upset during his post-game media availability. Let me talk about it.
Now, that room, you can easily see where people are like, they're in the same damn room. I'm reading people online. You don't understand. There's literally 50 to 60 people milling in the room, and that's not even people that are that's not even people who are team personnel.
Yeah.
That are moving in and out. And they're not located even right like next to each other. So, I mean,
but John, what's crazy is if you went on social media and you were upset about the show or something.
Sure.
I would call you up and be like, hey, you all right?
Exactly.
Like,
say it. Say it to the person.
Or if I saw, I guess maybe this would be a little bit different because this is the same show. What if I saw Tyrone upset with his coworkers? I would call Tyrone and be like, hey, man, you all right?
You all right?
He saw this video, which took place on Sunday. His show wasn't for over 24 hours later.
And instead of...
He had every opportunity to call AJ or to call Jalen or to call Moorhead, the wide receivers coach. Hey, what's going on here? He just went ahead and talked about it.
Honestly,
That's bad.
It was a low football IQ move by Brandon Graham, who is a guy that usually has great instincts.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
But you know what, though? We've all had these moments.
We all have.
We've all had moments like this, and I don't believe there was any intention to create any kind of discord and everything.
Of course not.
He is not. That's not what he's about.
No,
So,
definitely not. I just can't believe he did that. Now, one more clip for you, and then we'll reset today's topics. Here's Tim McManus. Again, he was on with the Mike Missanelli show yesterday. He was the one that spoke with BG following his initial comments on his radio show. He did talk a little bit about Hurts and AJ.
So I think those, obviously the reports have substance, and there's things that Hurts has needed to work on, but he's also, 25. So I think that there's some natural development that comes from, I think because he comports himself typically, with such maturity, you sometimes forget that he's not that old of a guy and that there's, a big spotlight on him, and there are things that he absolutely had to address. But I'm not really viewing this one like there's this huge beef between. We're going to do more reporting on it, but that there's a huge beef right now between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. I think that there is going to be tension in a pressure-packed environment, especially coming off of a collapse. I think there was plenty of tension last year. Some of that can happen when things aren't going right offensively for you in this game. And he has had some missteps during his time here. But I also feel like most of the things that have been coming back this season have been positive in respect to Hurts.
And that's why, John, yesterday when we talked about this, we never thought this was going to derail the season.
No.
And this
Neither
isn't
one of us.
Hurts and AJ hate each other. There's tension. And that happens in workplaces. You just hope that they can figure it out. Now, last year, if there is cause for alarm, Sirianni and Hurts had tension. And it was not fixed. And it wasn't fixed going into the season. It kind of was fixed coming into the season, but then week 4, there was the other weird moment. And in the bye week, they had to have all those conversations. They went out to eat, they hung out, Sirianni and Hurts. They figured out ways to work with each other and have a better working relationship. But that took over 6-7 months to figure that out. hopefully this is something that gets smoothed over a little bit quicker.
I think it's I feel much better about the whole situation as time has gone on. And I do believe that just talking to other people who have more access than I've had.
Yeah.
And I get good access, but not like these people. I feel better about the whole situation. And by the way, Andrew DeCecco has a wonderful piece up on his Twitter
I just
feed
saw him tweet it out.
that you can read, and I retweeted it this morning. So go check that out too, and read a little bit about their relationship.
He knows what he's doing. That's a good reporter right there, Andrew DeCecco. All right, so here's what our main topic has been so far today, and it's about whether or not the Eagles can win this way with this style of offense. We've talked about it numerous times, but we're diving deep into it now. I feel like I'm a little bit more aggressive in saying yes, because I also believe this is almost the only way I think they can win. There's just something going on with this passing offense this year that, look, it's great at times, and then you see games like Carolina. I just need it to be efficient. I don't need it to be prolific. I don't need it to be elite. I don't need it to be Mahomes. I need it to be efficient. And Jalen Hurts, all season long, since the bye week, and then if you subtract the Panthers game, he's been efficient. What the Panthers game did hopefully opens up some new avenues for him to not be hesitant to throw the football like he was with A.J. Brown early on in that game. So I think this is the best way for them to win, and I do believe that they can win this way. You guys are a little bit more hesitant, but you have been coming to the table with numbers to back up my point. That's good partnership right there.
Yeah, but I didn't seek out to do it. So just so you know, I sought out to say, because I heard Mike Missanelli Monday going on and on about this. And I'm like, Mike, I think you're being too strong in your opinion. And that's not like Mike at all, who's never strong.
Not.
He has
he
a
does
lot
have
to
a lot
say.
to say, though.
But and I was trying to say, okay, let me just seek the counter. Here is why the Eagles absolutely can win this way. The Eagles are the most likely team to run in the NFL. Most likely.
Yes.
Do you know who the top 5 are most likely to run in the NFL that lean on the run the heaviest?
I'm going to guess the Detroit Lions will be one of those.
They're 5th.
The Baltimore Ravens.
They're 4th.
You already told us that the Steelers
are 2.
Eagles are 1.
Bills? No.
Packers.
Okay, yeah, Josh Jacobs having a great year.
Wait, what do we have there?
5 playoff teams.
We have 5 playoff teams and 5 teams that people would easily bet on to get to the AFC and NFC title games. They are the 5 teams that lean on the run the most. And here's a better number for you. And again, thank you, ESPN Stats and Information.
Mm-hmm.
These top 5 teams, it's the largest percentage of leaning on the run in over 7 seasons.
Because they're realizing that defenses have gotten faster but smaller, which gives the beefy backs a bit of an advantage.
So if somebody says you can't run this much if you're the Eagles,
then you got to say that. Then you got to say that to the Lions.
Then you got to say
Packers.
Lions, Packers, Steelers, and Ravens also run too much.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, Andrew
and John,
you're smarter than you look. That's a nice compliment there.
I'll go one step further, man. You look at every team in the NFC that could be in the playoffs.
Okay.
Other than the Bucks, who, by the way, have found life in Bucky Irving. He just got hurt last week. Who's the pass happy offense in the NFC? We talk about the prolific
the Rams,
offense in
I guess.
Okay, the Rams. But other than that, it's all right. So you're going to fight the Lions, who are also going to run the football at a higher clip than most teams. The Packers, who are going to run the football at a higher clip than most teams. The Vikings throw the ball a lot with Sam Darnold. They do. They throw the ball a lot.
But the Vikings have been in more like sort of teeter-totter games than the Eagles have.
Right, absolutely.
So I think that comes into it, too, is you got to remember that game control, that stat of game control. How much time do you control the game? Does the other team have the lead on you and everything? The Eagles have been great on that since Nick Sirianni's been the head coach.
Yeah.
And honestly, it is one of his best things as a head coach, his idea of knowing when to choke out the other team by being able to say, it's not sexy, but we're going to run the football.
And Connor, you always bring up the, hey, you're going to be playing probably Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, and I get it. I got to get there first.
Well,
right?
yeah, but like you're playing. The thing is, we ran down the numbers yesterday. Every quarterback that's in the NFC playoff picture has had a better game this year than Jalen Hurts' best game. And it's not just can you win running the football. You brought up in our opening segment the word efficiency.
Yes.
Taunton, the passing game, efficient, and that's what you want. Guess what? At 11-2, with Super Bowl aspirations, this team has progressed past efficiency. The bar needs to be raised. It's not just be efficient anymore. It's be great. And I don't think this passing offense is great. And they should be based on the talent on the field.
But their rushing offense is great, which then allows you. But here's the thing. It allows your but efficiency can be obviously not for 300 yards, but if you're only attempting to pass the ball 20 times and you're throwing the ball for over 200 yards, that means you're averaging 10 yards per reception. That's efficient in a high level.
And if you're Hurts and you're having your most efficient year as a passer, statistically across the board, that means something too, doesn't it?
No, it does. This is not a knock on the Eagles. This is raising the bar for a team that should have a better passing attack than this. Like, yes, can they win this? We all said, yes, they can win this way. Each of us did. Yes. We believe they can win with this style play. But do I want something in my back pocket in case you get into a shootout game and Saquon Barkley, something happens where he doesn't have his stuff that day? I would like to see that before you're forced to use it in a win-or-go-home game. And I don't think that's unfair.
Here's another one just to make you both smile.
I like smiling.
In as far as prolific offenses, whether they are run or pass oriented, the same period of time between the Texans, so it is 2002, yeah. So it's over a generation.
Right.
It's 20 plus years. That is, you are far more likely to see a prolific passing attack be shut down in the postseason. It's almost 70-30 compared to a prolific rushing attack being shut down in a postseason game. So teams that are prolific passing attacks get shut down 7-3, 70% more likely than a rushing attack.
Oh, because we always talk about the colder weather. And
weather conditions,
it gets harder to play.
Harder to throw the football. And look, I was not, and I swear to you, I was not cherry picking stats to say make me feel better about what the Eagles are doing. I was honestly trying to find if it's where these guys may have it wrong. Nah, I think it's clearly
feels good to be right sometimes.
It looks
boys.
good, yes.
Before we get to our texts and our calls on our topic today of whether or not they can win. Look, I believe they can win this way, and I feel like it's the best way for them to win. However, it does need to get better. Like, A.J. Brown can't be wide open for what would be a walk-in touchdown pass, and Jalen Hurts hesitate and then not pull the trigger and then check it down to Jahan Dotson for 5 yards, right? Like, that's the kind of stuff that needs to be fixed. So, Kellen Moore had a big day yesterday. It was his first press conference since everything that's transpired on Sunday. Here he is talking about how the passing game can improve.
I think each and every week we're always having conversations throughout this whole process, and I don't think it's any different this week, last week, any other week. I think we all get the opportunity on Mondays to evaluate how we did, the things that we can improve on, and just like any other week, we all have conversations. I have conversations with AJ Plenty and Jalen and Saquon and the offensive line, and so we're going through a process similar, and obviously this pass game, from a production standpoint, the passing game obviously is something that we'd love to grow on, and I think we got excellent opportunities to grow in that capacity.
I like that he doesn't run from it. He's not saying, "Oh, we're fine." No, we're fine. No, he's saying that it needs to improve.
But Kellen Moore press conferences again are so funny compared to Vic Fangio press
he's like here's the book on how to handle a press conference.
Let me make sure that I look like the modern-day head coach who's going to say nothing, who's going to be very – whereas, oh, my gosh.
Yeah, Vic's
just letting it fly.
Yes, it was great. They asked him because Vic Fangio's up in the booth during the games. He's not on the sideline. And every once in a while, when you're watching the broadcast, they show his face. And he straight up said, I don't know why anybody wants to see my face.
Yeah.
Like, it's just great. He's the best. All right, let's talk to some of the people today. I have the text line ready, Connor, at 610-632-0975. But let's also go to the phones. Let's go to my man Michael in Yardley. Michael, good morning. What's up, Coach Mike?
Good morning, guys. Good morning, guys. I think you guys are looking at it wrong in terms of can the team win this way. Of course, I think we all know a team can win this way, but it's about being effective and efficient when we do pass. And it's about doing things that kind of scare the other team and not defending our run in certain ways. If Jalen is showing that he can't complete these passes and one-on-one coverage down the field, they're going to start bringing extra safeties in. They're going to start doing these run blitzes that kind of disrupt the passing game.
Right.
And we need to let other teams know, hey, if you do this, you are going to pay.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing as the opposite way, right? Like you have to be able to run every once in a while to keep the defense honest. If you're not running the ball at all or running the ball well, then you're just gonna have you're gonna have 4 guys on the line of scrimmage and drop 7. So it's the exact same thing, just the reverse. Like Hurts does have to make those throws so that you're right, they don't just load up the box. And that's why Saquon had not a horrible. That's why Saquon's having a better career here than he was in New York. Because with the Giants, there was no fear of the passing offense.
Of course. And one thing that I feel that AJ did, even though I don't think that he should have said what he said after the game, you have Nick Sirianni talking about Jalen's having an MVP year. You have Kellen Moore defending Jalen in press conferences. And people are asking him and Smitty, why does the offense seem clunky at times? It's because of the passer. Let's be honest. It's because of the passer. So I feel like AJ he's frustrated. Anytime you have receivers that good running routes all the way down the field, and they're getting open and they're not getting the ball, of course they're going to be frustrated. Do I think he should have said anything? No, but
that's what it comes down to. And thanks for the call, Mike. We always appreciate talking to you, man. Like that's what it comes down to. He's not wrong in what he said.
No, he's not wrong.
Everything that he said on Sunday was accurate.
No.
It's just, did it need to be said publicly?
It didn't need to be said, and he didn't do it calculated in any way.
No, especially when you're. Look, you're married, John.
Yes.
You know when the responses are short, you're in trouble.
You're in trouble.
Or you know that your spouse is upset.
Or she wants to get the, well, what's wrong?
So when A.J. Brown's answers are short to the point of one word, it makes it seem like he wants people to realize that he's upset. And I don't need that right now. Have that handled in-house.
Yes,
all right.
We didn't need this.
You know?
No, we did not need this. And I'll tell you, I've seen it in our industry that people who are chitter chatter, like, let me be the broker of information.
Right.
I know what's going on within this radio station or within this team I'm working for. Brokers of information are the worst people you work with. They want to little, let me tell you how important I am. I don't know what they think they get out of it. But this would have been, that's why I'm shocked that Brandon Graham fell into this trap.
I was surprised that it
just is, and I think
trap that he created.
I think it's a momentary mistake. By the way, I had that with Real Mama Eagle yesterday. I got to tell you, Real Mama Eagle was saying to me, I can't believe that Brandon Graham fell into the trap. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, Mama? You are such a smart Eagles fan. And I'm like, what are you talking about? There was no trap for Brandon Graham. He got asked a simple question, and then he went down a path that he didn't have to go down.
And according to Tim McManus straight up said, like, yeah, he just saw the video and assumed.
I had students of mine say, we got to get Real Mama Eagle to come into your class where we talk about sports interviews and things like that. There was nothing gotcha about those questions. It was literally great questions that were being asked. They're open-ended. Go with it where you want. And Brandon Graham took it down a path that I know he regrets.
Yeah, he dug the hole, put the fake leaves on top, and then forgot where the fake leaves were.
Exactly.
And he fell into it. What do we have on the text line, Connor?
So we have a bunch of people checking in on this and the situation between Jalen and AJ. This is an interesting point from Dave in Levittown that kind of echoes what Tim McManus was saying in one of those clips. He says, I think what people tend to forget about Jalen and AJ is their age. These athletes are trained up to be viewed as distinguished adults, keyword viewed.
Yeah.
Do we not remember in our 20s the gripes with our friends we blew out of proportion in the moment, then having fun and forgetting about it the next day? You got to remember the age of some of these guys that we're watching.
Oh, yeah, totally spot on. I mean, it's funny. John, I'm trying to remember if you were here that day or not, but, like, I had this, like, oh, my God, shame on me moment. We're talking about James Bradbury as if, like, he's this, like, old crippled man.
No.
I'm the same age as him.
Well, you're an old crippled man, too.
Well, I watched you after, like, a softball game or something, and you're walking around going, my back
Hey,
hurts.
I don't play softball. I play hardball still.
Oh, okay,
Maybe it's time to hang it up, Grandpa.
But James Bradbury and I are the same age, and we talk about him like, man, that dude's old as dirt.
No, but the thing is, it depends on it does depend on where you are in your industry.
No, I get it. Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
All right, so coming up next, we will speak to our man, Rob Motti. Very curious to hear what he has to say about everything that has transpired over the last couple of days, and we'll also talk about football itself. We'll ask him the question, can they win this way? They're 11-2, but we're not just talking about winning the division. We're talking about getting back to an NFC Championship game, if not further. It's Kincade and Salciunas on this Wednesday morning. Don't forget Adam Schefter also will join us He joins us at 8 o'clock, but Rob Monty next right here, 97.5, The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Eagles coach is not worried. I'm Connor Thomas, and this update is brought to you by Popeyes. It's football season in Philly, so you got to have some grub. Popeyes is just the joint for any fan of the birds. We're talking wings, baby, so fly to Popeyes, fly and fill up on wings in 7 delicious flavors. The Eagles, well, they're turning their attention to the Pittsburgh Steelers, or they're trying to, in the wake of the A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts situation that Brandon Graham brought to light, seemingly accidentally, earlier this week. But the Eagles coaches don't seem to be too worried. Kellen Moore, who works with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts closely as the offensive coordinator of the team, talked yesterday in his media availability about the connection between the offensive players.
For players, it's usually about their ability to perform, and we got a special group. I think they work really, really well together. A.J., Jalen, Saquon, Smitty, like the whole group. I think when you spend each and every day around the building and just see these guys connecting.
And Nick Sirianni is in agreement with his OC. He said yesterday that Brown is not blaming Hurts. The vibes around the team are good, kind of like back in 2022. That team went to the Super Bowl, so the coaches don't seem to be worried. And the team is still winning games. They've won 9 straight, so we'll see if they can make that 10 against the Steelers on Sunday. The Flyers took down the Blue Jackets 5-3 last night in Columbus. Travis Konechny 2 goals, Matvei Michkov 2 assists. They'll be back home on Friday to play the Red Wings. The Sixers are still off, and they'll play again Friday against the Indiana Pacers. We'll talk to Rob Motti coming up next. Adam Schefter at 8 a.m. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Matvei Michkov.
30 on Kincade Salciunas on this Wednesday morning. Our man Adam Schefter joins us coming up at 8 o'clock. You can imagine what we'll talk to Shefty about, and it's also what we're going to talk to our next guest about on the Comcast Business Hotline, where every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business help you move forward with what's next. This guy does a tremendous job covering the NFL. He's the AP senior NFL writer and insider.
That's three tremendouses.
Well, he's very good at it.
He is really good at it.
I saw him on with Kay Adams the other day. He was getting love for being a pick guru, Rob Maddie. What's up, Rob? Good morning.
What's going on, fellas? Appreciate all those tremendouses, man. You guys are tremendous.
I didn't realize you were a pick guru. What the hell's this about?
Wait, I saw you on with Kay the other day, and I'm like, I know Rob's. I turned it up, and bang, she's giving you all the love in the world.
Yeah, I have to pick every game, and I do it on a Wednesday, which kind of sucks because the line moves sometimes.
Sure.
You know, a point, 2 points here or there, but the only person with a better winning percentage right now is Nick Sirianni that I have.
What is your percentage? Something like what?
I'm like
60-something?
655.
That is fantastic.
And he picks every game, like the whole slate. It's not like, oh, here are my two favorites. So,
okay, that's wild.
Rob, keep up the great work as always, man. So you know what we're talking about today. It was a very interesting chain of events. Eagles beat the Panthers. The passing game doesn't look that great. A.J. Brown made it clear that he agreed with our eyesight there. And then, of course, everything that transpired Monday with the comments made by Brandon Graham. So, Rob, what do you make of everything that has transpired since the Eagles' victory on Sunday?
Guys, I want to start out with this part. Like, this issue isn't created by the Philly media. And you guys know that I've never been afraid to call out media for false narratives. This one wasn't fabricated by anyone. This was A.J. Brown making comments after a win, and then Brandon Graham honestly providing his insight. So for all this drama, you got to put it on the players. And that said, I don't think it's anything that a breakout game won't solve. If A.J. goes off for, say, 8 catches, 9 catches, 150 yards, which we know he's capable of doing any given Sunday, it's going to be all smiles all around. Wide receivers want the ball. That's always been a big deal in the NFL. Guys want the football. And it's not a problem, but it can become one if you have players who kind of start to put individual stats above team goals. Not saying that AJ's doing that, because you can argue that there's, as Nick Sirianni tried to, that there's a concern you're not playing up to your standard. But Saquon Barkley's having an MVP caliber season. The Eagles don't need Jalen Hurts to throw for 275, 300 a week to win. And that's a good thing, because that's winning football. They're built to win in January, and they got a tough, stingy defense. They got a great running game. And they can compete with teams, even the Lions, who have a dynamic offense, because they can control the clock with Saquon. They can run the game, run the ball, and keep Goff and the Lions off the field for 35, 40 minutes when it comes to that. So I don't think this is a problem yet. Jalen's protecting the ball. He's got 1 pick in 9 games. He did not see A.J. a few times open, so I think he's got to see the field a little bit better. Maybe he's got to take more risks, be more aggressive. Could it be that he's being too careful, avoiding some of those chances because of all the criticism after all those turnovers? Probably a little bit, but he's not losing games for them right now. They're winning, and there's some honest moments some guys are having in the media that they probably shouldn't.
This is one of the great things about having you on, Rob, because you got your eyeballs and your ears on so many of the teams. And honestly, so much of our focus has been on Detroit. If you were to list a hierarchy, with probably Detroit being the most dangerous to keep the Eagles from going to New Orleans, who would be your 2? Who would be your 3 as far as matchups, teams they match up with?
Man, that's a great question, John, because although the Lions are 1, I don't fear the Lions as much as their 12-1 record would indicate, because there have been games at home. We saw on Thanksgiving the way the Bears could have had an opportunity to beat them and didn't. Like, the Eagles can go into Detroit, into that stadium, and win. You look around the NFC, the Packers are a team. Week 1, the Eagles played against them. It was in Brazil. They beat them. Jordan Love got injured. They've come back. They could be a team that's difficult to manage if you play them, but that would be at home. Anyone else, the Eagles are going to play at home. You look around Tampa Bay, if they even get in, because they've had the Eagles' number.
I've been talking about that. The Todd Bowles is a kryptonite.
Yeah, they could be dangerous, John, but they're going to have a tough time even getting in. They got a 1-game lead right now in the South, but this week they're playing the Chargers on the road. Atlanta's playing Las Vegas. Atlanta should win, and they got the tiebreaker, and all of a sudden Atlanta's got the division title, and the Bucs don't. So I think they're going to have a problem even getting in. If they do, that one could be a little bit problematic, but again, you would have them in Philly as opposed to in Tampa. But that one I'd be a little fearful of. The Rams and Sean McVay could at some point cause an issue as a wild card team, again, if they get in. But the Eagles handled them in L.A. So, guys, I picked this team to go to and win the Super Bowl before the season. At 2-2, I was not really feeling all that confident about that pick. I feel a whole lot better now, especially the way they're playing, drama notwithstanding, because as I look around and see other teams, all of the elite teams have flaws. The Lions can be beatable. If you go to the AFC, we just saw the Bills lose. The Chiefs look like they should lose every week, and they find a way to win. The Ravens are you can handle those guys. This is a good test this week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think the Eagles are going to win, but it'll be a good test, a good challenge.
Rob, you cover the entire NFL. We know that you have ties here, but you cover the entire NFL. So I'm curious. You speak to people all the time. How do people outside of Philadelphia, I'm not talking about reporters, I'm talking about like league officials, how do they view the Eagles? Because they're very successful, right? It wasn't that long ago they won a Super Bowl, got back to another one, the winning percentage of Nick Sirianni that you mentioned. But there's also always something with the Eagles. This A.J. Brown situation, the collapse last year, firing Doug Peterson not long after winning the Super Bowl, everything that transpired with Carson Wentz. It just seems like there's always some sort of bit of drama with the Eagles. Is that something that people talk about across the league?
Not necessarily, Andrew. Some of the conversations I've had this week, and I'm in Dallas at the NFL owners meetings, and it goes back to, because people aren't as plugged in as you guys are, as the local media, as the local fans, they always start out with, oh, that's just drama created. And that's why I started off when I was talking to you guys, like, hey, this you guys know, we know this. This wasn't a media thing. It wasn't a media creation. But from a distance, people want to blame things on, oh, that's just Philly. That's just Philly media. That's what Philly's all about. That's all the drama. Now, the perception of the Eagles is one of the most successful franchises in the league since Jeffrey Lurie took over. You look at the number of playoff appearances, the way they do things, people want to play there. They're, I'm not going to say gold standard that Jeffrey Lurie won, remember that comment, but they are held in high regard in league circles for the way they operate, the way they've had sustained success in a league where it's difficult to do that at times. Today, they're probably going to get approved a couple of minority owners. That's going to go through, which is something new that a lot of teams are having, these private equities. So that's a deal that's going to be voted upon today. But it's interesting because this is a team that, although they've only won one Super Bowl, they get talked about as if they were more successful than that when it comes to winning championships. They get talked about as if they are one of the model franchises in the NFL.
Well, that's good to hear, and hopefully they continue to be that model franchise this season, and hopefully your preseason prediction is
I like it.
accurate. Rob, we appreciate the time as always, man. Enjoy the rest of your time at the league meetings, and I'm sure we'll be bugging you again down the road.
Thanks, Rob.
You got it, fellas. Take care. Thank you.
There he is, Rob Motti on the Comcast Business Hotline. Every day in business, big day. Let Comcast Business help you move forward with what's next. I love Rob. We said it earlier in the show if you missed it. Rob is not like a reporter that needs to, I need to be the first person to say this, or I need to have an opinion. I need to have a take.
Well sourced.
He writes for the AP, which is still a beacon of light for journalistic integrity at times. And so when he says, guys, this was not some media-driven thing, it means more, I hope, coming from him than maybe us, even though we've been on top of this thing. But no, seriously, this was started by A.J. Brown and furthered by Brandon Graham. And hopefully it's fixed. All right, coming up next, we'll hear from you. We've been very busy chit-chatting today. So we'll check the text line at 610-632-0975. Also, a quick note from winter meetings with baseball. Something that keeps on popping up with the Phillies that I just want to throw by you guys. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic.
Philadelphia 76ers basketball.
Here's a three by PG. Good! Paul George.
Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Adam Schefter will join us coming up at 8 o'clock. Can't wait to talk to Shefty about everything that has also transpired with the Philadelphia Eagles. We played you the clip from Ian Rappaport, who, of course, is another one of the big national insiders, and he put a positive spin on it, or tried to. So I wonder how Shefty portrays his messaging about what took place over the weekend with the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, real quick, before we get to the text line, I don't want to spend too much time on this because obviously it's Eagle Nation here. I keep on seeing through the winter meetings all the reports for the Phillies that they're like actively shopping Ranger Suarez. We've touched on it. Clearly, they may think something like maybe he's reached a peak or something. I'm not like quick to move him.
Well, you're going to have to give him a contract this offseason coming up. So you have 1 year left.
Right.
So to me, you've already decided by going to Sanchez with the long-term extension, and you've got Nolan Wheeler long-term extensions. You've already got 3-year spots, and Painter is absolutely going to be part of 2025's rotation at some point. Connor, if I was to say like mid-June.
Yeah, I'd say before that.
Oh, you say before. Okay.
The last 2 years, you've had Matt Strahm and Spencer Turnbull making big-time starts at the start of a season.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, it's where it is. Ranger would have value.
Right, he's got value.
But I can tell you that Ranger, his conditioning has been a question.
Right.
And if you look at Ranger, and you can just pull up Ranger when he was 10-0 or 9-0, and look at Ranger Suarez on the mound when he got hit in the hand. And then look at Ranger Suarez late in the season. And there is a difference of 20 pounds.
Yeah, beefy.
And that is Ranger was peak, and then Ranger wasn't. And Ranger's had problems getting started in the spring sometimes.
Yes, he has.
So
I understand.
I just think that that they will look at potentially different. And I know for a fact they kicked the tires on the whole Fried situation.
Right.
But when two New
big
York
money.
But when two New York teams are involved, then it's like, no, there's nothing to be gained by that.
Right.
So
I don't know. I just
we'll
like
see.
it seems like Rangers mentioned as much as Bohm. And I'm okay with moving on with Bohm. I'm hesitant with Ranger.
I love Ranger Suarez, but I also think that Ranger Suarez has shown you that he hasn't been able to stretch out. He hasn't been able to extend into where you can count on him to be that's one of the things. Anybody who rips on Aaron Nola.
Right, he's always.
And look, you always have to lead with the fact that he is better than average pitcher.
Yes.
And he is a guy who takes the mound 30 times a year.
Yeah, every single season.
Like, here's the thing. They're not moving Ranger. Because what your argument is saying, John, is don't pay him, which I totally understand that. Like, don't give him the contract extension. Let him go to free agency. But your team doesn't get better moving on from that guy because in the postseason, that dude is a monster.
What if he was involved in when you say they're not removing Ranger, I would completely disagree on if the pitcher, he was involved in a deal for a pitcher. If he's involved with a deal for a pitcher that they would have more control over, that they think has a potential higher upside, I absolutely think they'd move Ranger today.
Yeah, so
by 10 a.m.
What's the profile of a team that would trade for Ranger Suarez now?
The Chicago White Sox would consider
on the final year of his deal and have to pay him an extension when they don't pay anybody?
Yeah, because they're not gonna have to pay him. He's not gonna get an extension he doesn't have the resume to demand like what guys like Fried and others can demand.
I'm not saying that, but the White Sox are trying to move Garrett Crochet, who's a 25-year-old guy under 2 more years of team control.
Because they know he is going to demand a Fried-like contract, even though he's not even close
to
Max Fried.
My point is, if you're getting a good pitcher on an expiring deal, you are a contender trying to find a way to win this year. The Phillies are a contender trying to win this year.
So if anything, just hold on to him and then let him go to free agency, and if you don't get him back.
Could be, or trade him at the trade deadline if you think you have something else.
Well, that would be a sell, and they're not selling.
It doesn't mean it's a sell. It could be involved with acquiring another pitcher,
like or a big name bat,
or a big bat, or something like that.
Yeah, I just find it interesting that he's mentioned as much as Alec Bohm at this point now as a potential piece that the Phillies could end up moving. All right, what do we have on the text line about our beloved Eagles today, Connor?
We have more people checking in on this Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown dynamic and also the passing offense. Eddie from Camden says, So he's going through it with Brandon Graham and the way that BG came out, because we were talking about those comments
That
earlier.
Tim McManus clip that we'll play it for you guys again in the 8 o'clock hour, was pretty damning.
So Eddie's first text says, BG talks all that crap on the field, not too surprising. But then he follows up and says, that's a lie. I love Brandon Graham. I don't mean that. But why? Just why? I want to be consistent, established winners. Why is there always something coming out about this team or holding this team back?
That's why I asked that question of Rob. Like, it seems like every single year there's something. Now, look, I bet you I could do that for every team. The NFL is the greatest league when it comes to drama. It's soap opera stuff. Yeah, you would know. It's it's almost
This
as good
doesn't
as,
even happen in Port Charles.
Of course it doesn't in that show.
In Genoa City it does, but that's totally different. There's a lot of contrived narratives about this, but again, this is a completely player-created narrative.
Right.
Not media-created, player-created narrative. You didn't hear once about A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts until Brandon Graham brought it up. No media member brought this up or portrayed it as, there's big problems this year. No, it's not.
Right. What else we got, Connor?
We also have John V checking in here, who says, morning, gents. It seems like multiple times a week the question is asked on one of the 3 Fanatic shows, can the Eagles win this way? And every week they win this way. I know you're all talking about the playoffs and the Super Bowl, but I think the Eagles have answered the question 9 weeks in a row.
Yeah, and look, that's...
Wait a minute. Okay.
Go ahead.
Say it exactly again. 9 weeks in a row they've answered what question?
The question of can they win this way?
No, they didn't. Because beating the Jags, beating the Browns, beating the Panthers,
but then the same
tells you nothing about whether you can win in January.
But then I can fire right back with Rams and, and Ravens.
No, those games do.
Yeah.
But all 9 weeks they've answered it? No. I think they answered it in the Rams game. I think they answered it most in the Baltimore game. And that's where I really take it. Other than those two, I'm not even pointing to that many on the 9-game win streak.
I might look at Cincinnati, too.
I'm not looking at Dallas. No, I'm not looking at a 5-win Cincinnati team. They're not around in this. They're not a team you're going to face. They're
but
so
they're
bad.
a prolific offense that you were able to keep to 17 points, and then you win the time possession battle by running the football and all that kind of stuff. All right, so coming up next, it is a Wednesday, and we are entering the 8 o'clock hour, which means Adam Schefter joins us to start the 8 o'clock hour. What does he have to say about everything that has transpired since Sunday for the Philadelphia Eagles? We'll have today's headlines with Connor Thomas and a whole lot more.
You're going to want to hear that one. Something big in headlines today.
Oh, I love it.
Wow.
Dealing with the guy sitting in your chair, Andrew.
Me?
Yes.
So I'm dealing with myself? All right. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Faith in the offensive players. I'm Connor Thomas, and this update is brought to you by Macy's Backstage. Macy's Backstage has amazing deals on the holidays' most fun gifts. Get low prices every day on unique finds in-store only at Macy's Backstage. Find a location near you at macy'sbackstage.com. Off-price, on-trend, arriving daily. The Eagles are turning their attention to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who they will play this Sunday at Lincoln Financial Field. And now part of the conversation is not just the relationship between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, which Brandon Graham's public comments on Monday brought into question, but the passing offense. Can it be in a situation where it looks a little bit better on the field on Sunday than it did against Carolina? Kellen Moore talked about his faith in the offensive players yesterday.
For players, it's usually about their ability to perform, and we got a special group. I think they work really, really well together. AJ, Jalen, Saquon, Smitty, like the whole group. I think when you spend each and every day around the building, you just see these guys connecting.
Speaking of working well together, Nick Sirianni is in agreement with his offensive coordinator, saying Brown is not blaming Hurts and the vibes around the team are good, reminding him of 2022. So seems like they're still in a good spot, just something that we're keeping an eye on as the week progresses. The Flyers took down the Blue Jackets 5-3 last night in Columbus. Travis Konechny, 2 goals. Matvei Michkov, 2 assists. They'll be back home on Friday to take on the Red Wings, and the Sixers are still off. They'll play again Friday against the Indiana Pacers. We'll talk to Adam Schefter coming up next. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Tyrone Johnson.
I think Jalen Hurts is very good.
on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic on a Wednesday morning. We will be joined momentarily by our man Adam Schefter, who joins us every single Wednesday at 8, and we will talk about everything that has since transpired with the Philadelphia Eagles, the 11-2 Philadelphia Eagles, who are getting set to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers this weekend, and eventually we'll be able to talk about the game, John.
I'll be looking forward to it.
Eventually. Too many times this year, unfortunately, we have not been able to just react to games. We've had to talk about a lot of other nonsense.
And every one of those times, coach created or player created.
Right.
Not media created at all.
Yeah. And
just for clarification.
Beauty is they're 11-2, and we just got to hope that continues. And that this isn't something that spirals out of control. And
I don't think it will.
We don't think it will. Every reporter that we spoke to so far does not believe that it will. But again, I go back to what Ian Rappaport had to say that we played earlier this morning about how he believes this is a good thing because now that it's out in the open, it might make for them to address it on the field and it get better. Well, what if it doesn't get better? Is it going to lead to some sort of spiral, which I don't think so, but it is something to keep an eye on. Let's head to the Comcast Business Hotline. Every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business help you move forward with what's next. He's brought to us by Landis Block. Create your very own jaw-dropping backyard paradise online at landisbc.com. Adam Schefter from ESPN. Shefty, good morning.
Good morning, John. Andrew, what's going on?
We're 11-2. That's what's going on.
We're 11-2, but unfortunately, it's not all we can talk about.
That's the best case for you guys, right? Isn't that the best case?
Oh, yeah. In terms of content and sports talk radio purposes, while also still being a fan of the team, it's actually a beautiful thing, Adam. But I also wish it wasn't necessarily happening. So let's go through it. A.J. Brown talks about his displeasure with the passing offense after the game on Sunday. And then Brandon Graham on his radio show talked about a potential, disconnect between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. So we'll ask you, what have you been hearing with everything that has happened since the Eagles beat the Panthers on Sunday?
Well, again, I know A.J. said what he said, it's undeniable. So clearly there's some sort of issue, right? Clearly. And Brandon said what he said. So he's getting at something. I also would say that, again, I don't know how extreme it is, not to play it down, but again, they were celebrating touchdowns together in recent games. They were on the field praying together in recent games. Like, if it was something that was so unmanageable and unruly, they wouldn't be engaging in some of the behavior that I've seen, right? So, I mean, again, I think there's truth in what everybody's saying, undeniably. But I don't know how much, AJ was disappointed after the game. There were plays where he was open. He didn't get the ball. The passing game isn't functioning, but they have won 9 straight. And I guess the way that I'm looking at it is the team, to me, would seem to be in a significantly better spot right now than it was a year ago. So while there are issues, and we'll let them figure that out, whatever those are, they're not enough to slow down this team right now, although you'd like to get them ironed out moving forward.
Eyeballs. You use them every week, and I love it when you get to watch those games in the war room up in Bristol, which is freaking unbelievable. When you watch the Eagles with your eyeballs, do you believe their style of play is a style that transfers to a Super Bowl champion?
Well, I think they can be a Super Bowl champion. If they're playing their game, they can be a Super Bowl champion. They're good enough to be a Super Bowl champion. But there's still a lot that you have to do along the way to make that reality and make it happen. And look, if they're playing their A game, they can get it done. They can get it done. That's on them. There's not anybody that you look at and say, boy, they can't beat that team. Even Detroit, who I thought for much of the season has been the best team. I think a lot of people thought for much of the season that Detroit has been the best team. I don't look at the Lions and say, boy, the Eagles can't beat them. Can't beat them. That's not the case. They can beat them. Doesn't mean they will, but they could.
Shefty.
By the way, if those two teams play 10 times, they might split the 10 games.
Or, it could be 5-5, exactly.
Right, absolutely. Shefty, so when you hear what A.J. Brown had to say, is this something that we should keep an eye on, that maybe there are deeper things in the weeds that we don't know about, or could just one big game from A.J. Brown solve everything?
Well, I mean, you asked, should we keep our eye on it? I guarantee you everybody's going to be keeping their eye on it. And he's now the squeaky wheel with, obviously something there. And I almost kind of expect on Sunday, A.J. Brown's going to catch some touchdown. They're going to hug. Everyone's going to be like, look at that. See that? That's what I think. Now, if it goes on and we still have A.J. Brown complaining in a few weeks when the playoffs are starting and there are other players commenting about and that's still a thing out there, and we can observe it on Sundays or in practice, that would trouble me some.
Would it trouble you that a team leader, a 15-year NFL veteran, a guy who has played his entire career here, is the guy who sort of lit the fuse this week publicly and created a distraction?
Let me ask you a question. I was unaware. Does he have a regular radio show?
Yes, he has a regular radio show on Monday nights.
And how long has he had this show for?
A few years.
Few years, yeah.
I know a lot of teams would not be a fan of that.
Yeah, but here's the thing. The individual, Brandon Graham himself, is highly respected, well regarded.
Yes.
Again, I don't know. But he obviously he felt what he felt. Good for him for saying it. I got no problem with that. Again, I'm sure the team wasn't thrilled about it, but that's what he felt. You say it lit a fuse, and I guess you're there, so you would say.
Oh, it has been the focus of conversation in this city.
Yeah, we're not just bringing it up because you're on with us. It's been continued to talk about.
It's been unbelievable.
Well, and my point is that everybody's going to be watching them. Everybody's going to be watching them from this point on. They just are.
So, is this something that happens more often than we know? It's just better kept in-house? Because you mentioned it. They're winners of 9 straight games. So it's not like they're 2-11 and AJ's not happy with his production. They're 11-2.
Of course. Hey, let me tell you something. It's a collection of personalities brought together. Like, I remember there were things going on behind closed doors when I covered the Broncos, things that at that point in time were a little bit more, you're like, oh, my God, that's happening? Oh, my God, these two guys? Really? Oh, wow, okay. So, yes, that's the, oh, by the way, again, I think at any level, like any sports organization, any company, just think of any company, it's just the world. There are inter-office squabbles, arguments, fights, disagreement, whatever it may be, with everybody. Everybody. In any I'm not trying to normalize it, but it's pretty normal in today's world.
So in an NFL locker room, is this, hey, you two figure it out? Or does Nick Sirianni sit them down? How do you think they try to address this?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm not there on a day-to-day basis to say this is what we should or shouldn't be doing. I don't know that. And I'm not trying to normalize it. I'm just telling you, I don't think it's all that abnormal at all. But, again, because it's the quarterback and it's the wide receiver and it's salacious, right? Okay, then it's going to become a tough. I got it. I understand it. But I think it's completely normal. Completely normal.
We asked Rob Motti about this earlier from the AP.
Huh?
If Detroit would be most likely the most dangerous opponent that could keep the Eagles from getting to New Orleans for a Super Bowl, who would be your 2 and 3?
Well, I would say that the one that's keeping them from getting to New Orleans most of all would be themselves. Because if they're playing their game, their A game like we talked about, they're going to have a good chance to go, no matter who they're playing.
Love that answer. I think you just made people's days.
Yeah. Well,
I love.
Is that what you're all about, though?
What do you mean? Oh, that's what I'm all about.
That's what you're all about. You're all about bringing smiles and sunshine to people and to fan bases. That's great.
I'm a sunshine guy.
You are.
No, but it's true. If they're playing their game, they're the team that has to worry about themselves more than any other. If they go play their best game, you worried about anybody?
No, they're the best.
No.
Shefty,
I'm worried if it's in Detroit.
It's been brought up for kind of the first time all season about 2 weeks ago from one of our great local reporters about maybe it's time to start talking extension for Nick Sirianni. We all know how last year ended and how it was kind of delayed before we found out that he would be returning as the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. Is this something that you think they will wait and see how the season plays out before they start having those conversations?
Oh, I would think that that's the time and the place to do it. Absolutely. Like, I mean, it certainly seems to be tracking that way, and everything is going great, and everyone's happy. And when everyone's happy and teams are winning, then people get new deals. And as long as that continues, that'll be the case. But I don't know if there's any rush to do it right now in season. They certainly can wait till February or March or April or May or June or July. And that would be my sense, that everything would just kind of wait. Like, their business right now is winning football games and going on an extended, successful postseason run. That's what they're in the business of doing right now. And once that business is done, they take care of their business, and all the other business will follow.
If you run into Rich McKay, say hello for me, but also say, why the hell are they not calling face masks anymore? You had 4 games this weekend with blatant face masks mixed. And with all the ticky-tack stuff that they tell officials to watch out for, they're missing some of the most blatant stuff we've ever seen, and it could have cost the Eagles a game on Sunday.
Yeah, it could have. Listen, I think that's been probably the issue with officiating. It's just inconsistent. You don't know what you're going to get from them. And this actually has been probably pretty consistent. They just haven't called that. But it's inconsistent in the way that it's been done. Yeah, if I see Rich McKay, I'll ask him that question, John.
And say hello.
Do teams send in memos frequently about, hey, can you keep an eye on this? Because if we're sticking with the officiating, Jalen Carter's held every single play. Do you think that's something that the Eagles have sent maybe a video package to league officials saying, hey, can you please keep an eye on this moving forward?
I think the teams are in constant contact with the league office. On Mondays, they're complaining about a variety of calls for number one. I guarantee it's been brought up. And then, on the field or at the stadium pregame, you have a chance to, hey, watch this today, watch that. You're planting seeds. I don't know specifically that it's happened with Jalen Carter, but I would be surprised if it hadn't happened.
I'll just say click one Eagles game and you'll see it on the first play. Because it's every single play. Adam, listen, man, we appreciate the time as always. We can't wait to talk to you again next week. Enjoy the rest of this week as we enter playoffs in fantasy football. I know that's big for you. I'm sorry. I also had Christian McCaffrey, so we both had to drop him.
I had Christian McCaffrey. I had Jordan Mason. I've had Isaac Garindo all year long, and then he gets hurt. Now, I also had Patrick Taylor on my bench. But I did a podcast.
It happens.
Well, I did a podcast this week, my podcast with Mina Kimes, and I was very curious because she was in the war room on Sunday, and I asked her, like, I want to see, she knows so much about so many different formations and how defenses are attacking and how offenses are scheming. I'm like, how does she consume the game on Sunday? Because I always want to see what other people are doing. And I asked her about this, and somehow I posted about it online. But she diverted the question to, I can't believe what I saw from you. I'm like, me? Yeah. She said, you were flipping out over Isaac Garindo.
Oh, come on, man. Fantasy football, serious business.
Flipping out, and then I see this calm tweet that was totally opposite of the way you were behaving and acting in the war room.
There you go.
Straight foot. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Weekend, and as I say to everybody, fantasy football, it means nothing, and it means everything.
At the same time. Yep, you're spot on, Shefty. Listen, man, we appreciate the time as always. We'll talk to you again next week.
Talk next week.
There he is, Adam Schefter on the Comcast Business Hotline, brought to us by Landis Block. Create your very own jaw-dropping backyard paradise online at landisbc.com. That's interesting for a guy like him. He has all the access in the world. Let me watch football games with different people to see how they act. Because he's more of an information guy.
I've gotten to see that war room and gotten to be up there, and some Sundays I've worked back in the day. It's amazing.
Well, you talk about how much you learn from DeCecco just sitting next to him in a press box.
Well, absolutely. That helps.
But it's an amazing way to learn.
Sure, you hear stuff, but it's so funny is that you're talking all the analysts that work for ESPN in one room.
Yeah, it's amazing.
With catered food, giant TVs, I mean, it's awesome.
That sounds nice. I'm a fake football guy. I can find my way in there.
Believe me, you feel dumber when you leave the room.
All right, it is time now for today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
What do we got today, Connor?
What's up, CT?
So we have something that we have to discuss with Mr. Salciunas over here. There was a caller into the Mike Missanelli show yesterday that apparently saw Salciunas out in the wild at the Wells Fargo Center.
I heard this live.
Okay.
Your thoughts on this caller, Johnny?
I'll go
Go
to
to Harvey and Radnor. Harvey, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Harvey.
Hey, I wanted to get a ruling from you on one of your coworkers over there, Mr. Salciunas, in the morning.
All right, go ahead. What do you got?
I see him at Wells Fargo. There's 7 urinals wide open. He goes right into the door, right by the open urinals. What's your ruling on this? Is that violation or what, Mike?
So
You took the end urinal?
no. He said I went stall. Now,
You went stall?
so first off, I one of the parts you cut out there, I appreciated Mike going, then why don't you call him?
No, I got that.
Because it's always weird. Mitch
might be busy.
Mitch the other day.
Yeah, I got you. He might be busy.
I find it weird. I'm going to rip somebody,
Okay.
but I'm going to call somebody else.
But you go into a stall to pee?
So
That's weird.
here's what I find weird. First off, why are you watching my every move in a bathroom?
No, you're deflecting. Why
You're
stall
deflecting
over
now.
urinal?
Why
Answer the
stall
question.
over urinal when they're all open urinals? You go into a stall to
Now, I
pee.
don't need to answer this question. You know why? I'm not talking about my personal choice. It never happened.
What?
I've been at the Wells Fargo Center once this season,
All right.
and it was the first half of the Sixers Magic 7:30 game. Connor,
Okay.
you and I were there with some
Yeah.
of our great clients.
Did you guys go to stalls together?
We did not.
I will tell you, not to be like, we had a suite because it was for the clients.
So you
of
used the
97.5
private bathroom
Fanatic.
in the suite.
I will also tell you this. I didn't use the bathroom. I went there for a half. I can hold my bladder.
So you're
Okay.
calling Harvey a liar.
So you're saying Harvey
Yes.
lied about you being in there?
I don't like. He must have either seen somebody else that looks like me, and we've had this doppelganger issue before.
The doppelganger does live down in the D.C. area.
So it's either that he saw somebody else from the station and just has the wrong name, or he's just completely
Ray
making,
Dunn.
or just completely making something.
Could it be Ray Dunn?
It could be Ray Dunn.
I don't know,
It
but
could have been Ray because he was there.
But my response is, why do you care about my business? Number one, but number two, why are you making stuff up? Because I have been at the Wells Fargo Center very limited times this year, literally one half of basketball, because I don't really have the time because my wife works and I take care of my son.
Seems like mistaken identity. I'll tell you,
Absolutely.
I'm
Then it's
stalled
got to
over-
be somebody from our station.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So it's just some
Or he's just making up nonsense.
Or
I
is
don't
it
know.
Ray?
I don't think he's making stuff up. Bottom line, I'm stall over urinal because we had a kid in middle school.
What?
Yeah, we had a kid in middle school that if you were using the urinal would walk up behind you and kick the back of your knee so you'd fall over.
Yeah, well, guess what? You're an adult now. I don't think anybody's
Yeah, I don't
doing
think
that.
everyone's
I'm scarred. I don't know. I can't
gotta
look
tell you.
behind me.
All right. By the way, I remember this being talked about before. 5 urinals, all empty. You walk up. Which one do you take?
Either far left or far right.
Yeah.
I do too. I take
Yeah,
far right.
You have to. That's
I
common
take
courtesy.
the far right one.
Yeah.
The most common one that people pick is the middle one.
Well, it's because people are inconsiderate.
That doesn't make any sense.
I had an incident at our pregame show the other day at Xfinity Live. There was only 2 available. Either one right next to the guy,
Okay.
or the one 2 away. But the 2 away one was the little one.
Take the little
Kids.
one.
I
You
took,
take
the,
the
I
little
took
one.
the little one.
Why wouldn't you?
Because I want to give the guy his space.
Yes.
I took the little one, and I did not go into a stall to Harvey's weird
Okay.
questioning.
All right, bathroom boys.
Interesting.
Let's,
It's just weird that you're foul. Like,
That's not weird. If
That's not
somebody
weird at
sees
all,
us
dude.
in person, that's not weird.
He thought he saw you. He didn't see you.
He lied.
It's
though.
not that
That's
weird.
a lie, though.
let me have
That's
my privacy in the
misinformation.
bathroom. That is misinformation. I could sue.
No, you can't sue.
Yes, I
dude.
could for libel.
No, you can't.
There you
He said
go.
you went into the stall. Grow up.
I could sue.
All right, grow
I
up.
could say that I
Take
am
stuff too
emotionally affected by this, and I felt attacked, and I was lied. So I could sue.
You're a little bit
All right.
sensitive lately there, Salciunas.
Wow.
Yeah. Just saying. I don't know. I think Johnny's hearing it too.
I'm hearing it a little bit. I'm a little shocked at that.
Interesting.
A little
Wow.
shocked.
Wow.
Little
shocked.
sensey.
It's not a big deal. First of
Wow.
all, it's usually a pleasure when you get to meet people.
In the bathroom? No.
No, when you meet people. No, I've had people in that when you stand in that long line at the Wells Fargo Center to go to the bathroom at a Flyers game. I've had people talk to you in line. There's nothing wrong with that.
Interesting.
For God's sakes.
I'm just caught on
The
this.
white people are so
I'm
insecure.
I'm caught on this sensitive comment by Connor. Might have to have words during the commercial break.
Sounds like something someone being sensitive about it would do.
Well, once again, I'm being lied about. I'm being lied about twice in a span of 2 minutes. That I was pro-stall and then I'm being sensitive. A lot of lies going on around here. I'm not for it. All right, coming up next, we are going to play you some audio from a national media member who people don't like. I'm going to tell you right now, he is not on the Mount Rushmore of national media members for Eagles fans.
But he's not lying, is he?
But he said something that we talk about here a lot locally, and it's about how we can talk about Jalen Hurts. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The offense staying connected. I'm Connor Thomas, and this update is brought to you by PayPal. Get exclusive cashback offers in the app, and with the PayPal debit card, stack 5% more in your chosen monthly category on up to $1,000 in purchases. Don't just pay, PayPal. Kellen Moore met with media yesterday for his weekly availability as the offensive coordinator of the Eagles. And, of course, he was asked about the situation with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, how that's going, and also what the passing offense has going on. Is these initial comments by A.J. Brown questioning the passing offense were what led to all of the drama earlier this week. And Kellen Moore says that the offense is staying connected.
For players, it's usually about their ability to perform, and we got a special group. I think they work really, really well together. AJ, Jalen, Saquon, Smitty, like the whole group. I think when you spend each and every day around the building, you just see these guys connecting.
So that's good news from the OC, and the head coach echoed the sentiment, saying that Brown is not blaming Hurts. The vibes around the team are good. It feels like 2022. So Nick Sirianni, Kellen Moore saying all the right things. It's definitely a narrative we'll continue to keep an eye on as the Eagles get ready to face the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday. But probably the more important part of it is how did the Eagles get a more efficient passing game? The Flyers took down the Blue Jackets 5-3 last night in Columbus. Travis Konechny 2 goals. Matvei Michkov 2 assists. They'll be back on the ice on Friday playing the Red Wings. Sixers are off till Friday as well. This update's also brought to you by Bradford White Water Heaters. When you need a new water heater, choose one that's built to be the best. Choose Bradford White. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Ricky Batalico.
I think Kellen Moore's play calling is.
On Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. I hope your driving to work is being pleasant right
Be
now.
safe.
Be safe.
It's very wet today.
Crappy weather out there. So please be safe. All right, so we're going to play something for you. Now, again, I understand that this person is not everybody's favorite, and I'm not going to say that he's necessarily my favorite. And the show that he's a part of is not necessarily my favorite. Now, we don't watch these shows. We're
I don't watch
here.
that one, but I tape other shows.
Yeah.
And I just have them taped every day in case I want to skim through them.
Now, the thing that sucks is Shady's on this show, and I love LaShawn McCoy.
He's gotten better, too.
He has gotten better, but he's on that show, The Facility, that has Chase Daniel, who's literally just saying anything that's nonsense.
He is trying to get noticed, man.
No, it's really bad. Like, it's clear that he is just trying to say something that will get reaction. And maybe somebody schooled him to do that, especially
I guarantee you
at
he was
that
schooled to do
network.
that.
I wouldn't be surprised if somebody's told him to do that. Is it James Jones or Jonathan Jones that's also on that show? I forget if it's James or Jonathan.
I think it's James.
But James Jones just last week said that Jalen Hurts is a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. And after the game Monday, he's talking about how they're going to lose because of Jalen Hurts. And it's like, yo, dude, like, pick a side.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, please pick a side. Now, this one's interesting. So Emmanuel Acho, former Eagle, not that people celebrate that all that much. And
exactly.
People don't celebrate the things that he says, on his show or on social media. So I know it's hard to forget about the messenger, but forget about the messenger for a second and take a listen to this message that we have been talking about frequently throughout this season this year about how we can talk about Jalen Hurts. I'll let Emmanuel Acho do the talking, and then we'll expand on it a little bit more. But the big thing is this has now become a national thing and not just local, which is also kind of surprising because normally I didn't think this stuff reached national levels. But here's Emmanuel Acho talking about Jalen Hurts.
Do that to Jalen, and it's like you committed a sin against God. If you talk about Jalen Hurts, it's like you blaspheme the name of the Lord. It's like you really committed a crime that will send you to the depths of hell for eternity if you talk about Jalen Hurts. It's the craziest thing. Saquon running the ball at a proficient level. Offensive line blocking at a proficient level. AJ getting open, and you know he can catch, and Jalen is just not delivering. Be glad you have A.J. Brown, because any other receiver would handle this differently. Like Eagles, thank the good football gods you got A.J. All A.J. Brown said was passing. So A.J. Brown is on his best behavior. Jalen Hurts is at the center of the chemistry problem and the passing problem. That's how I'm a verbalize.
I don't need to do the whole chemistry problem thing.
I'm not buying that part of it, but till he said that last line.
Yeah, like we're not inside the locker room enough to know if there is a chemistry problem. I mean, every reporter that we've talked to says that this is going to be something that will be fine. So I don't know
that it was overstated a bit.
Yeah, I don't know where Emmanuel Acho is getting this from. But the beginning part is really what we're going to focus on.
He's right.
You can't say anything critical of Jalen Hurts without being labeled like a hater or wanting him out of town.
Or, and I'll flat out say it, or it's a race thing.
It comes
if you're
up.
criticizing Jalen Hurts, well, and you are a white commentator or otherwise, I see people on Twitter all the time getting attacked for it. It's ridiculous. Every quarterback that has been through this town, white, black, otherwise, has gotten criticized horribly. Donovan McNabb, horribly. Carson Wentz, horribly. Ron Jaworski, I say to you all the time, you guys are too young.
Right.
I'm shocked Ron Jaworski doesn't walk around town giving people the middle finger for how he was treated. And Jalen Hurts gets a level of protection I've never seen. Honestly, I don't know where it comes from.
Yeah,
because it's open season on a quarterback in any town. It's the worst job.
And what's
maybe mayor.
What's confusing to me, because again, not to go back in time, but for somebody that may say, well, he gets criticized, but all he does is win, right? And that look,
His
I get
team,
it.
all it does is win.
And there are people that will say, look, that's more important to me. Is winning's more important than individual stats, and like that's great. But then why was Donovan McNabb like hated in this city?
Donovan McNabb was
because all they did
crucified.
was win. Like you can't tell me, hey, I'm not critical of Jalen because all he does is win. When I grew up in the McNabb era, and all he did was win.
Donovan McNabb went to the playoffs his second season as a starter, won a game, went to the playoffs the second season, his third season as a starter, won 2 games, went to the won 2. I mean, he is a guy who consistently won in the postseason too.
Right.
Come on now. Donovan McNabb was abused in this town. And Jalen Hurts has a level of protection that I just don't understand because I don't believe he's earned that kind of double secret, just constant excuse making for him. Now, we also are very big supporters.
Yeah, he's not Aaron Rodgers where like I want to punch him in the face.
Right. I mean, he's a
you know what I mean?
You said a word the other day. We're being critical of Jalen for something.
Yeah.
And you were like, we were bringing up Jalen's what he did the night before Thanksgiving, where he showed up and you were like, you know, he's just a wonderful human being.
Yeah.
He also gets that and he earns every bit of it.
Yes, he does.
But I mean, it's like there is a level of protection that I just don't understand. When it's just critique that is leveled in fact. It's not leveled in just opinion. It's leveled in fact.
Now, all right, we're getting some immediate reaction. First, you've mentioned Real Mama Eagle. She's chimed in on social media.
I love Real Mama.
Let me give you guys some perspective. It's not that he can't be criticized. It's the level that it's done. It's things he's crucified for that other guys get a pass for. And yes, his skill set as a quarterback always is seen as a, quote, problem. Now, a lot of people like to point the...
I think that's a big brush Real Mama's is painting with. I don't believe that is the way it's portrayed by the majority of the Philadelphia media that actually covers the team. I'm talking about the reporters that are embedded, the people that we talk to on a weekly basis, many of them on this show. I do not believe that is the majority opinion of how he's covered. I will say that is patently false. People who have podcasts, people who aren't in the locker room, who I've never seen in the press box or locker room, I'll give Real Mama Eagle the truth there that I believe she's speaking 100% the truth. But they aren't media, in my opinion.
Okay.
That's not media.
Now,
that's social media, which is a completely different animal.
Now, and the skill set thing, a lot of it's preference, right? Like I remember a lot of people were comparing Hurts's numbers with like Joe Burrow's numbers or with Josh Allen's numbers, right?
Yes.
They are different styles of quarterback. Like Josh Allen has a cannon.
He does.
Like you guys got to remember, he plays in Buffalo, where it's probably like 40-mile-per-hour winds.
You better have a cannon
on a given Sunday. Like you have to be a specific style of quarterback to play in Buffalo. You have to have that kind of an arm. So maybe it's a preference of skill set. I just want Jalen Hurts to be efficient. And earlier in the year, he was not efficient. And when he has since become more efficient, we have celebrated. There are still a couple of nitwits every once in a while that you'll hear call in and go, all he does is hand the ball off. And
That's absurd.
Come on, man. Like, you got to give him credit when credit's due. Now, this past game, he was not efficient, and they almost lost the game because of it. Again, they are an Xavier Leggett drop away from maybe losing the football game to the Carolina Panthers. So it has to be called out. And look, it's not just called out by people in the media or fans. It's called out by his own teammate in A.J. Brown.
And how about the leadership questions that were very publicly brought up by teammates last year?
That have since gotten better, rectified.
And we have also covered the story very, very well.
Right.
And I believe the local media has, that he has done everything he can to change that perception. Stop being aloof. Be more of a leader. He's done those things. And those things are covered constantly.
Right. But it does seem the second it's like critical comment.
The poor put upon Jalen stuff is absurd, as I've never seen a quarterback that has played in this franchise for any length of time get just you don't. There's no criticism.
Well, let's go to a call here, John, because Mike believes that Jalen Hurts has been more criticized than anyone ever before.
Oh wow!
What's up, Mike?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hi, Mike.
I definitely think that he's been criticized more than any quarterback I've ever witnessed. I'm 37. I'm not.
How about Donovan?
Okay, so Donovan got a lot of criticism later in his career. When he failed. Hold on, when he failed multiple times to get things done.
Donovan was critiqued from the beginning through it.
Understandable, but we, as Philly fans, other than when he got drafted and we booed, we protected Donovan when people talked about him. Correct?
We didn't boo. 20 clowns. 20 clowns booed.
I agree with that. So the fake fans that were there that booed, other than those, we protected Donovan when people talked bad about him. When Rush Limbaugh has things to say about Donovan, we were up in arms about that.
Yeah,
what I remember.
This city did, but the thing is that Donovan McNabb also accomplished a hell of a lot more than Jalen has. At the same point, Mikey, in the same point of their careers, Donovan McNabb delivered more as a starting quarterback for his team as far as winning when it matters, getting his team further, than Jalen Hurts has.
Jalen Hurts has won more games in his first 3 years than any other quarterback.
How about January? He's had 3 trips to the postseason. He has a win over the 49ers without their quarterback and a win over a horrible Giants team. Donovan McNabb won playoff games every single time he went. For his second year as a starter, his third year as a starter, his fourth year as a starter, his fifth year as a starter. Donovan McNabb won consistently in January and was constantly abused. I'm not gonna buy into this. He was criticized more. Jalen is not criticized.
I'm giving you what I've seen as a fan. You obviously in the media as well. What I've seen as a fan is that Jalen gets more criticism, and it comes at the worst times. It comes at times when we're rolling as a team. I keep hearing people talking about, oh, we almost lost to the Panthers. A lot of teams have almost lost to the Panthers. We're not
right,
special.
But who criticized him?
Since October.
But who criticized him? One of his own.
Yeah,
one of his own
teammates.
Criticized him.
Thanks for the call, Mike. We got to go.
Mikey.
Thanks for the call, man.
One of his own.
And again, I make this clear all the time. I don't care about what other teams did.
Exactly.
Did my team play well? Yes or no? And that's what I'm focusing on. Sometimes
You're not doing this compare and contrast stuff.
Sometimes I use other games for context. Like, again, the Rams game the other day. They put up 44 points. Wow, my Eagles defense held that team to 17.
See, now I think that is valid, though.
So that's great to see. But just because the Panthers played one team tough doesn't mean they need to play the Eagles team tough.
Sure.
And the Eagles were 13.5-point favorites, and they were a drop away from losing. That's not good.
No, it's not.
So we'll dive deeper into this conversation because...
And if people want to get in on it, it's awesome.
Yeah, we will. 610-632-0975. Why is it that it seems like you can't be critical of Jalen Hurts? Now, more people have chimed in. We'll read more tweets coming up next. Also, favorite time of the week, Johnny, NFL.com power rankings.
I was waiting for it.
Where are the Eagles after this past win? It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic. Jalen Hurts. In the 9 o'clock hour, here's what we're going to do to start the 9 o'clock hour. We're going to replay a bunch of clips that we played earlier in the show, way back in the 6 o'clock hour. Tim McManus joined the Mike Missanelli show yesterday. And remember, he was the one that spoke to BG after the comments he made Monday night. BG and Tim spoke so that they could get more information out there about what Brandon Graham was saying about Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown and everything that transpired on Sunday. So we're going to play you a bunch of clips, and then we'll further the discussion about how or why you can or cannot be critical of Jalen Hurts at times, or it seems that you can't be. Now, I saw a couple of great tweets that I do want to read for you in the 9 o'clock hour that maybe some people take exception to when it comes to the critique of Jalen Hurts. And what some people are saying is not necessarily here, but what the national people are saying. And let's face it, the national people, I just mentioned, that show is filled with takes.
It is.
James Jones said last week Jalen Hurts is a top 3 quarterback, and then this week is saying that they're going to lose because of Jalen Hurts. And it's like, come on, dude, you can't flip-flop like that.
But when you're just trying to develop a hot take every day, that's what you do.
Right, exactly. So we'll talk about that more in the 9 o'clock hour, but we do this at this time every single week. It is John's favorite time of the week, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
The NFL.com Power Rankings. Hit it, Connor. Yes. We have a new number 32. Congratulations to the New York Giants. Dead last in the NFL.com Power Rankings. So we killed 2 birds with 1 stone there. I always like to tell you who 32 is, and I always like to tell you about where the other teams in the division are.
Is it Giants or Vegas?
Giants. Number 32.
Wow, okay.
Vegas are 31, by the way.
There you go.
The New York Giants considered dead last in the NFL.com Power Rankings, and I always update you on the New York Jets. They are 27th. They choked another one away.
Oh, my gosh.
It's unbelievable. The Miami Dolphins winning in overtime. Cowboys drop another spot. They continue to slide. They are 22nd. We never talked about it yesterday. We were going to, but the story with this AJ and Jalen Hurts thing was running so rampant we didn't get a chance to. The way they lost that game on Monday night, the blocked punt, which they then touch, and then the Bengals recover and win the game because of it.
Special teams cost them.
Unbelievable. Like, you rarely see a play like that unfold, and yet it did, and that's why they are 22nd in the power rankings. By the way, what could cost you the 1 seed, that lost the Atlanta Falcons, Johnny, they are 20th in the NFL.com power rankings. Lastly, are the Commanders in the top 10? No, they stay at 11. They were on the bye. So your top 10. Broncos at 10, still amazing. Chargers at 9, still amazing. Ravens at 8, they're on their bye, so they didn't move. Packers fall to 7. Steelers climb to 6. Your top 5. Do you guys want to guess? I always like this game. We know that the Eagles are in the top 5. Do you want to guess where they are?
Eagles are 3.
Yeah.
They have moved.
They moved?
Vikings are at 5. Bills drop to 4. Chiefs move up to 3. Eagles move up to 2, right behind the Detroit Lions.
Wow.
Teams 1 and 2 in the least biased power rankings.
Wow.
Lions at 1, Eagles at 2.
Wow.
Here's what they wrote about the Birds. For the life of me, I can't explain why the Eagles always seem like they're still mentally getting off the bus in the first quarters of games. They've been outscored 59-17 in the opening frame this year, but they're plus 150 in point differential for the other 3 quarters. Philadelphia didn't have a great offensive game against Carolina on Sunday, but it was good enough to earn a 9th straight win, which tied the franchise's all-time mark. Even with 4 straight turnover-free games, to his credit, Jalen Hurts has left some meat on the bone. He held on to the ball too long against the Panthers, missed some downfield chances, checked down too often, and was guilty of some bad decisions. A.J. Brown also only had 4 targets, which is criminal. Philly is a Super Bowl caliber team, but the latest showing certainly wasn't its best.
Could you repeat that part about criminal again? Because it revisits our conversation
A.J.
yesterday.
Brown was only targeted 4 times, which was criminal.
I believe that's the word I used multiple times yesterday.
And I agreed with you that it was really bad on Sunday.
Criminal.
I just think the rest of the season.
It's criminal that he should get. If he gets 4 and if he gets 6, it's criminal.
Well, 6 in a game where you only throw 19 times. That's a third of the time.
I want to know who you want to get the ball all these other times on this team. It's unbelievable.
All right, coming up next, 9 o'clock hour, we replay some of the clips from Tim McManus, and then we will further the discussion about critiquing Jalen Hurts. What is fair? What is not fair? What people have take exception with, and why it seems to be like anytime you do say something critical, it leads to some sort of back and forth. Also, today's a big day for Jalen. I'll explain more coming up next. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Moore discusses the offense. I'm Connor Thomas, and this update's brought to you by Bradford White Water Heaters. When you need a new water heater, choose one that's built to be the best. Choose Bradford White. Yesterday, Kellen Moore took to the podium to talk to media about, his team's performance against the Panthers, but also, of course, the whole A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts situation that has popped up earlier this week following A.J. Brown's criticism of the Eagles' passing game, and then Brandon Graham's public comments about A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts' relationship. So a lot for the OC to talk about, and he has a little bit more faith in the offense than it seems some in the fan base do right now.
For players, it's usually about their ability to perform, and we got a special group. I think they work really, really well together. AJ, Jalen, Saquon, Smitty, like the whole group. I think when you spend each and every day around the building and just see these guys connecting.
So Kellen Moore basically gave you the nothing to see here, move along. And Nick Sirianni is in agreement with his OC, saying A.J. Brown is not blaming Jalen Hurts, and the vibes around the team are good. They feel like 2022 vibes. So maybe they're right, and we really are just looking at this too tightly. The Flyers took down, the Blue Jackets 5-3 last night in Columbus. Travis Konechny, 2 goals in the win. Matvei Michkov, 2 assists. They'll be back on Friday on the ice to play the Detroit Red Wings. The Sixers are still off. They'll play again Friday against the Indiana Pacers. We'll have more coming up on this A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts discussion here on Kincade and Salciunas. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Bill Colarulo.
When you have Super Bowl aspirations, which the Eagles do.
97.5, The Fanatic. By the way, coming up at 11:30, Governor Josh Shapiro is going to be joining the Mike Missanelli show.
That's awesome. So it's 11:30, not 12:15?
Or is it 12:15?
I retweeted it last night when I saw Mike do that the governor was coming on.
Is now at 11:30. Ray Dunn texted.
Okay, so it's now. So it's now at 11:30.
Governor Josh Shapiro will be joining the Mike Missanelli show.
Will Mike Missanelli go back to his journalistic roots, though? Because I need a question asked to the governor.
What do we got?
As my house was part of it the other night, and our boy Jason Martinez from the Flyers coverage here.
Yes.
We had the drones flying all over Landview and Westchester and all that. All I'm going to say is, what's with the freaking drones?
Yeah.
And Governor Shapiro has to know the answer, and he'll probably tell Mikey Miss.
Who are the drones hurting?
If Mikey Miss gets to the answer, I'll be appreciative.
I'm curious to know what it is.
I want to know what the hell the drones are about.
Oh, it's just what they are. They're not like bothering you.
What do you mean they're not bothering you? What are the drones flying in packs of drones flying over communities?
I don't know.
Well, when the government
that stuff bothers you guys?
When the government, can't tell you what they are.
Wasn't there a spy balloon not long ago?
And by the way, there was a spy. There was a spy balloon, and the president of the United States, who was exiting in a couple, like 4 weeks, he got crushed for it.
Yeah. So we should probably find out what these drones are all about.
We should find out why drones are flying over communities, and we're not knowing what they're about.
You know, my response is, cool, drones. And then I just go on about my life.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, you know what you're thinking of? You're thinking it's like a Billy and Larry in their backyards flying drones.
I just don't really think. I have too much stuff in my head already. I don't care what other people are doing.
I'll just say there was a night, I like to partake in some things at night.
Okay.
And I was outside, and I didn't know that Starlink existed. And when I saw that flying over my house.
No, we saw it the other night, too.
I didn't know it existed. Like, I didn't know. Apparently, I missed all of that. And it flew over my house one night, and I was very concerned.
I would tell you this, is that if you would have to have watched The Blacklist with James Spader, a huge show on NBC for like a decade. They had like the drones, people dropping biological weapons and stuff like that. You don't want to be thinking about these drones. Connor, then you'll worry about it.
We'll find,
no, I won't.
Maybe
I don't
we'll find out. Maybe we'll find out today at 11:30.
Look, Mike Missanelli. If anybody who's an interviewer on this station that can get to the bottom of it, it's Mikey Miss with the governor.
The only thing I'm worried about in the air right now are Jalen Hurts passes.
Right. So, speaking of, all right, before we get to these clips from Tim McManus, because they were tremendous yesterday, speaking of Mike Missanelli, who was on with the Mike Missanelli show yesterday. But we asked the question earlier because there was a clip from Emmanuel Acho yesterday. And again, the messenger, I kind of want you to ignore because I know a lot of people don't like what Emmanuel Acho has to say. And I don't necessarily do all the time either. I think he's on a show that's filled with hot takes. And that's what a lot of those shows are. And so, but he made the point of you can't be critical of Jalen Hurts or it's like you're disrespecting the Lord himself, right?
And it was a very funny line, and I don't think it's too far off.
No, because anytime we are critical of Jalen Hurts, and again, I would like to speak for this show, and John, I know that you would attest to this. We are, I believe, very fair in our critiques of Jalen Hurts. It's not.
I think most people would say that we're very fair.
We don't.
I don't believe people would say we were attacking. We're certainly not hot take.
We don't call him noodle arm. He stinks. They're going to lose, blah, blah. But if he has a bad game, we point to it. We discuss maybe some of his shortcomings that have been talked about since the draft process, right? Maybe that's why he's struggling.
Absolutely.
But then again, we always point to in 2022, these things weren't talked about. We only talked about the positives when it came to Hurts. So I'll reread the tweet from the Real Mama Eagle about the perspective. She says, not that he can't be criticized. It's the level that it's done. It's things he's crucified for that other guys get a pass for. And yes, his skill set as a quarterback is always seen as a, quote, problem. Now, our man Slippin' Benny responded. Another one of our favorites.
Love Slippin' Benny.
He responded to Real Mama Eagle. The criticism is far too often.
Another one of our favorites.
Yep. The criticism is far too often a referendum on is he the guy or not, rather than did he play well this week or not. And that is accurate. Like we are today's talk show. We are reacting to when we talked about Jalen Hurts Monday morning, we talked about Jalen Hurts against the Carolina Panthers.
We do not do the tell us your top 5 Eagles quarterbacks of all time.
No, and we didn't talk about wow, he's going to play like that in the Super Bowl, they're going to lose. No, it's how can he correct that? What can he do better at? What did he do Sunday that was bad that needs to be corrected? We also gave him his flowers for the way he handled himself on those third and long runs, getting first downs, extending drives. Benny continued saying most Eagles will say he played poor, or most fans will look poorly. Will say he played poorly last week, and there will always be the homer holdouts. But instead of the conversation is always, can we win with this guy when we have done almost nothing but win with him the last 3 seasons? Which is why when we have the conversation about Hurts, I say, can you win with this style of play, not with him as the quarterback?
And when race is brought into it, I literally roll my eyes and just say, come on, let's not be simpletons with this discussion. It is not. And I see that far too often, but that's X. That's what you get on a social media platform, especially with a bunch of people with fake avatars.
Right.
That don't put their name to their comments.
Right, but then there are also...
That's the way to fix
But there are also nasty people on X that do make it about that.
Occasionally with their name on it. I would say that's what would fix social media. That's what that would fix.
Like you have to show
if everybody posted in social media under their name.
Yeah, that would be nice.
It would be a 1,000 times better, nicer place than the faceless moles that sit in their homes and decide to just be vicious and nasty to people.
I agree with you. So what we're going to do is I'm going to play you some clips, and then we will get back to this conversation because I know people want to talk about it on the phones and also the text line. You can call in, text in 610-632-0975. But if you missed it yesterday, and if you missed us playing back some of the clips early this morning before the hour turned to 7, Tim McManus was on with the Mike Missanelli show yesterday, and of course Tim was the one who spoke with Brandon Graham following his comments Monday night about Jalen Hurts and Brandon Graham. Here he is talking about how BG went a little too far.
My first response was to text Graham and basically said, let's talk if you want to talk. So he ended up giving me a call to kind of give his context about his original comments and trying to put it in proper perspective, and basically saying that he went too far with his comments, and basically like he was he didn't have the full story, but based off of the video that he saw of A.J. Brown's comments post-game, he was making some assumptions that he probably shouldn't have made. But obviously, Mike, by that point, there was a whole lot of speculation / fireworks that were going off.
So he says that Brandon Graham went too far, and the alarming thing in that was that BG saw a clip of A.J. Brown talking postgame and then reacted to it. Now, that's one thing for us to do. That's one thing for a fan to do. That's one thing for any other radio host, podcaster, maybe media member that wasn't in the locker room. That's something for us to do. For a teammate that has the cell phone number of these players, for him to just assume something and then go on a radio show and talk about it is something that I'm very surprised happened with a guy like Brandon Graham, who has been playing in the league as long as he has, and yes, has been doing that show for a while.
I'm very surprised. As you could hear, Adam was very surprised by it.
Yeah.
Earlier when he asked us about it. A player that does one of those shows, I can tell you, organizations don't like them. They don't like the shows.
Imagine, yeah.
Because they're afraid that stuff's going to get out.
It's risky, yeah.
And the fact that he, and I'm saying ran his mouth respectively, but the fact that he ran his mouth, that something came out like that, is just shocking to me because it wasn't short. It wasn't like,
no.
Sometimes you say something and catch yourself.
Yeah.
He just kept going.
He kept going. And then that means nobody's taking anything out of context because
there's nothing that
he kept going. He explained it. Right?
Nothing was taken out of context. And most importantly, and I get into this with Real Mama Eagle yesterday, there were no gotcha questions.
No.
That was just Brandon Graham on
his own.
Brandon Graham walked outside and stepped in a big pile of poop. And nobody forced him into it, and no one lured him into it.
Right.
And you know what? There was no nefarious intention on his part.
No.
And it's a very out-of-character thing to happen. And every one of us has had moments in our lives where we go, yeah, I wish I had that one back.
And I'm sure it's been talked about already.
Yes.
I mean, he did straight up say that he was reaching out to the individuals involved.
Correct. I would have done that before talking about someone else's personal business.
Exactly. That's the surprising thing. Like,
that surprises
why did you do that?
Why would you do that?
And Tim straight up telling us that he just reacted to the video. He didn't talk to anybody beforehand. I want to play another one for you. And this was something that I was bothered by. The fact that this came out. the fact that A.J. Brown did speak publicly about this. Again, the message from A.J. Brown was not wrong. It's just it didn't need to be addressed publicly to the point where we talk about it and then Brandon Graham has to talk about it. Here's Tim McManus talking about A.J. Brown, how he can't handle his business the way that he did.
Well, so I think he's accurate in the fact of, like, the main thesis of his argument is that this stuff should be handled more in-house, I think is the correct one. I mean, just consider everything. It's a 9-game winning streak, Mike. You know, they improved to 11-2. They still have a chance for the number 1 seed. I would say that the vibes around this team have been pretty good overall, that they had sort of moved past the collapse, and now they're celebrating with one another after touchdowns and interceptions, and everything feels pretty good. And then they have a clunker of a passing game against Carolina, and next thing you know, Brown's throwing his helmet down on the sideline, and he's terse in his explanations post-game, and that led to something else, which was Brandon Graham having his own comments. So obviously a mistake for Graham to go all the way down the road that he went down. I think that he was accurate in the fact of, listen, Brown can't be handling his business this way. You have to avoid some of the turmoil that engulfed this team last year. And so, yes, I think that part of his comments were correct.
Now, I want to also make this clear, because I am, out of the three of us, probably the one that's most bothered by what A.J. Brown said, or how, again, that it was portrayed publicly. It's not like he was Malik Neighbors a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
And it's not like he was Deebo Samuel just 2 days ago on Twitter. Did you guys see the tweet?
With Deebo said, I'm just not getting the ball, right?
He said, because, people were saying that he's having a bad year. He just tweeted, it's not like he responded to anybody. Not struggling at all, just not getting the ball with like 10 exclamation points. And the emoji, the guy doing the shrug. And it's like, oh, dude, really? Like, you felt the need to log on to Twitter and put out that tweet. And now if I'm the quarterback, I'm going, yeah, dude.
Put down the phone.
Please put down the phone.
Kids, put down the phones.
Now, the best part about that, did you guys see the community note?
No.
So you know how on X,
they can correct.
They can correct misinformation. There was a community note. He leads the team in drops. He is struggling. So the community note on Twitter or X, however you want to call it these days, comes after Deebo Samuel and says, no, he is struggling. He leads the team in drops. That's actually kind of hilarious.
I love a good community note.
Yes, I like it too.
That's actually kind of hilarious. All right. Real quick, before we get back to the phones and texts, I mentioned going into the break. This is a big day for Jalen Hurts. Big day for Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
He speaks today in the 4 o'clock hour.
So I guess the best show ever will carry that.
Yes, I would imagine. Remember, Jalen in the past has had chances to speak on drama, right? And hasn't necessarily handled it well.
No.
Today's a big day for him because today we could come in here tomorrow morning going, attaboy, Jalen, that squashed everything. Or for the people that are like, oh, man, day 3, you guys are still talking about this. If Jalen maybe says something that we go, what? It'll be talked about again tomorrow. He's got a big day today at the podium. And I imagine everything's going to be squashed. My guess.
I hope it is.
That's my gut feeling. If you ask me gut feeling, do I think Jalen Hurts handles this press conference well today? I believe that it will be because I think he's worked on it a lot since the Sirianni stuff.
Absolutely.
Connor?
Yeah, kind of.
Him and Hall.
Last year, it took him 3 times to get it right to finally say something nice about Nick Sirianni.
Right.
So let's not just think that this is all going to be fixed, I guess.
I just think we're going to get a kind of it doesn't matter type of thing from Jalen Hurts today. And some people might say, oh, he doesn't want to talk about it. That's all I'm thinking. I don't know that we're going to get a come out and say, no, AJ and I are cool. We've worked on stuff. Passing game needs to improve. Let's move on. Like, that's not Jalen Hurts' style. I think it's much more likely that he gets asked and he says, oh, we got to work on stuff football-wise. And
if he doesn't address this, Connor, it is a major faux pas.
I don't think it's a major faux pas.
It's
I don't
the
think
biggest
it's a
story.
negative.
It's been the biggest story out of the NFL.
It's got to be addressed.
It's been the biggest NFL-wide league story this week, and it's been the biggest story here.
Right.
If he sticks his head in the sand and ignores it, that makes it seem like it's more real. That makes it seem like there is stuff going on.
From our perspective. But
no, from the entire league, it'll be.
I'm saying
you don't do that.
The Royal R, not the guys in this room. Everybody outside of the Philadelphia Eagles room would take it that way. But if they're flying in house and he just goes, nah, there's nothing going on.
Nah, I think he has to address it.
I would like him to, but I would like him to as someone outside. If he doesn't feel the need to, because this is Brandon Graham misrepresenting his situation on accident, somebody might take that the wrong way, but that may be what we get from Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, but then again, it goes back to something else that we've talked about in the past, and John has pointed this out. You don't want to make it to the point where other players start getting asked questions.
Correct.
And so if Jalen says, no, we're fine, and maybe they are, right? But if that's not the answer that a reporter is looking for, and I'm not saying looking for like they're trying to get dirt, but just like, all right, I didn't get enough information from that answer, they'll then start asking the other teammates. And maybe that's something that the other teammates are just like, I don't want to talk about
It's the number one thing in my entire career, and going into a ton of locker rooms and talking to athletes that they hate, is having to talk about other athletes.
I got you.
And if you are in the middle of a controversy and you're in the middle of the news cycle, you need to be the one to talk, not force your. Then the questions are going to go to other people.
Right.
He can shut this down today.
Yeah, and I think he will.
I hope he does, because he blew it twice with Nick Sirianni.
Right, and I think he's learned from that.
And hopefully he has.
And that's why this season is much better than what it was last year, which is why none of us think this is leading to some sort of collapse.
God,
now
I hope he says we have our moments today. Please, Jalen.
I do not want. I just want no fortune cookies.
You're going to get fortune cookies.
No, talk like a human being.
It's Jalen Hurts. He 99.9% of the time gives you this, so why would we expect him to not give us this?
All right, let's go to our man T-Love. What's up, T-Love? How you doing, brother?
Hey, what's going on? Hey, let me just say, first of all, it's creepy that anybody would be clocking you at a stall.
Very weird, right?
It's real creepy. I mean, now, if he'd have said that you didn't wash your hands, that would have been a story.
Yeah, call me out on it.
Don't. You know, most of those guys don't.
Wait a minute. Most people don't wash their hands after taking a pee?
Hey, man.
I know people here.
Oh, that's bad. Don't even get me started. Oh, my gosh. That's really bad, dude.
It shows where you grew up or how you grew up. Maybe we don't,
Hey, in Broomall, 19008, we were told to wash our hands.
Hey, listen, I've seen people get up from the
All right. What do we have on Jalen? What do we have on Jalen, T-Love?
And the first thing they want to do is shake your hand.
Oh, that's terrible.
What do we have on Jalen Hurts, please?
All right. Listen, you know where I stand, okay?
Yes.
You know where I stand.
For people that don't know, T-Love is a big support. And look, we're all fans, but a big supporter of Jalen Hurts.
I believe that he's not the greatest, but there's improvement. He's made improvement. This is a new system. I've said it before.
Yep.
There's documentation 2 years into the system. He should be better. He's better than he was at the beginning of the season. What I don't like, Donovan McNabb, I love Donovan McNabb. I don't know why. He always gets the brunt of all the criticism rather than Andy Reid. Andy Reid never got any criticism. Now, you can call that racism. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Andy Reid got criticism after the first 5 years. He got criticism. In fact, he got pretty savage criticism towards the end. But I agree with you early on. It was always McNabb that was taking the bullets for any failures.
The national media thought we're all crazy. Why did they let him go? But anyway, getting back to our guy. And John, you know I love you, man, right?
Thank you, buddy.
I still have a problem with you when you go personal about a guy, and you made statements.
Where did I go personal? What are you talking
when
about?
you talked about the guy's character earlier in the year.
When he was doing what? Just remind everybody.
When he didn't say anything when asked about his coach.
About Nick Sirianni, correct.
Right. When he didn't say anything, okay?
Well, T-Love, this is something where you and I, and this is a good give and take here. You talk about like the washing of the hands is how you were raised. It's not. I was always told it is not hard to find something nice to say about somebody. I would say when you have the opportunity, toss him a lifeline.
But I was taught that if you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything at all.
And then I can't believe that he has nothing good. There's not one redeeming quality that he could bring up about his head coach. In fact, knowing his head coach a little and how he's perceived around that locker room, I don't believe that has a chance
Thanks for
to
the
be
call,
true.
T-Love.
Has a chance to be true.
And sorry, we were up against it,
Right.
dude. And look, he's gotten better. That's gotten better.
And he has gotten better. He has. But to me, that is something. We all have character flaws.
Yes.
Whether you want to acknowledge it or not. I know I got mine. I know at the pearly gates I'll have to answer for mine. Look, you got it. Evan, but one of them is it's not hard to be kind. It's not hard to just try to be kind.
Yes. And just
not enough people do it today.
In case anyone is wondering why we're talking about this, it was brought up by T-Love. We're not revisiting
right, exactly.
the offseason. But today is a big day for Jalen Hurts at that podium today.
It's a huge day.
Big day because we could have nothing to talk about tomorrow, which might be a good thing. And then we'll have to be creative.
Please let us.
All right, coming up next, crazy numbers on how the Eagles are winning despite the lack of an air attack. And again, our main topic today is whether or not they can win this way. So we'll discuss that even further coming up next. It is Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The Eagles clear in the air. I'm Connor Thomas, and this update is brought to you by Macy's Backstage. Macy's Backstage has amazing deals on the holidays' most fun gifts. Get low prices every day on unique finds in store only at Macy's Backstage. Find a location near you at Macy'sBackstage.com. Off price, on trend, arriving daily. The Eagles are attempting to clear the air after a bit of a PR storm happened earlier in the week with Brandon Graham going public with comments about A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts maybe not having the best relationship right now. And all of this stems from questions surrounding the passing game following the loss to the Carolina Panthers, where A.J. Brown responded that passing was the problem with the offense right now. And yet, the Eagles are 11-2 on a 9-game win streak, and they have the Pittsburgh Steelers coming up with a chance to make it 10. That would be the biggest win streak in the history of the franchise. So there's good, and then there's questions. Well, Kellen Moore gave us a little bit more insight yesterday.
For players, it's usually about their ability to perform, and we got a special group. I think they work really, really well together. AJ, Jalen, Saquon, Smitty, like the whole group. I think when you spend each and every day around the building and just see these guys connecting.
And Nick Sirianni backed that thought up, saying A.J. Brown is not blaming Jalen Hurts, and the vibes around the team are good. So we'll see if this pops back up as we get closer to the game against the Steelers. The Flyers took down the Blue Jackets 5-3 last night in Columbus. Konechny 2 goals, Michkov 2 assists. They'll be back home tomorrow night to play the Detroit Red Wings. The Sixers are still off. They'll play Friday at home against the Indiana Pacers. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni.
Kincade Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Mike Missanelli show coming your way at 10 o'clock. Nick Sirianni speaks to the media in the 12 o'clock hour. So that's why Governor Shapiro was moved up to 11:30.
Wait a minute. The governor has to follow. It shows you how important the Eagles coach is.
Damn right, man. Damn right, man.
Mike says, yo, Gov, I'd love to have you on, but we can't.
Yeah, we got Nick
Sirianni is
Sirianni
going to be talking.
And this is a big press conference for him today because
It's huge.
he will speak about everything that's transpired since that game on Sunday. Now, before I give you a couple of crazy stats, because Ruben Frank of NBC Sports Philadelphia is always great with these. The crazy stats.
He really does.
That also shows you how amazing it is that the Eagles are winning the way that they are right now. But real quick, no, you should not be under the influence at all of when you're driving, whether it's drinking and driving or under the influence of any other drug. We have a commercial running about driving high. You get a DUI.
Absolutely, you can.
But why does the commercial have to be, yo, bro, do you want to go smoke a bowl, man? Why has it got to be that?
What do you mean?
More often than not, that's exactly. How about this? 51% of people who would be doing that activity sound like that.
No way.
51%?
Where do you get that knowledge from?
I'm going to tell you is I will tell you.
Get the hell out of here, dude.
You could look at the dude. Get the hell out of here, dude.
Yo, dude, you want to go smoke a bowl, man?
Come on.
Before
why?
Before we go to grandma's house.
You know why? Well, isn't that the big thing about the holiday walk?
Yeah, but they don't sound like that.
That people go on the holiday walk?
Yeah.
You don't think?
Nah.
I was going to say
I
you
don't
do.
think, John,
Less than
I know.
20%.
That you do. That you
bro,
do.
let's go smoke a bowl, man.
It's good.
Come on, we don't need it.
Everyone drives sober.
Yes, exactly. That's the message.
Guess what? I think it.
That's the message we should get across.
You know why
period.
they use that sound in an advertisement? Because they believe that the majority of people will relate it to that advertisement.
Oh, come on, bro. We don't. We're not all the same, man.
Come on,
right.
man.
So Ruben Frank, NBC Sports Philadelphia.
35 years old in mom's basement. Go on.
I'm 31 year
It's
old.
just another-
I'm 31.
You're a grown man
and
with a kid.
And I own a house, John.
You do. You very well do.
So don't pin me.
I'm not pinning you. I'm cheesing.
All right. Saquon. Ruben Frank. Crazy numbers, as always, which I love. A different way of winning is number one. The Eagles have 1,501 net passing yards during their 9-game winning streak. That is the fewest by any team during a 9-game winning streak in 20 years and second fewest in nearly half a century.
Okay, that's wild.
The team that did it 20 years ago were the Pittsburgh Steelers. And remember, they were undefeated to start the season. They beat the Steelers. I was there. I was in attendance. I made the drive out to Pittsburgh.
7-0 that year, right?
Yeah. And the Steelers played pretty well that year. That worked out for them. And remember, Roethlisberger was a rookie that year, right?
Roethlisberger
was a rookie. Yeah,
was.
but he had he had Jerome Bettis, he had Hines Ward, he had Antoine Randall L. He had a bunch of weapons around him too. The first quarter nightmare. The Eagles are the first team to make the playoffs despite scoring 17 or fewer first quarter points through their 13th game since 2001. So it has happened
2001. Who was that?
The Buccaneers scored 16 points in the first quarter of their first 13 games. They finished 9-7.
Yeah, they sucked.
But the Eagles could win 14 games.
They could.
The Eagles are the first team to win 11 games despite scoring 17 points in the first quarter of their first 13 games since the 1986 New York Giants, who scored just 12 total first quarter points. But they won the Super Bowl that year, John.
That's amazing.
The Eagles are the first team in the last 50 years to win 11 of their first 13 games despite being outscored by 40 or more points in the first quarter. The 1999 Bucks were outscored by 48 and opened up 9-4. It's amazing, dude. This first quarter thing and also running the football as much as they are. And that's the other crazy thing. You would think, oh, they're running the football because they have this big lead because they went off and scored 17 in the first quarter. No, they're getting blanked. They scored 17 total in the first quarter this year. And yet they run the football and they nobody's stopping them. These Saquon Barkley, you've mentioned him numerous times. The second half numbers for him this year, where he's averaging like 7 yards per carry in the second half.
It's
unbelievable.
Well, it's so funny is because I had I think the Unabomber or whatever sent me his manifesto on why we shouldn't worry about the first quarter scoring. And he says it was totally by design. I'm not going to give the guy's name. because I'm a little concerned about him and the shed that he lives in. But he goes into this like 3-page email of this is why you shouldn't worry about the first quarter scoring. And he says it is by design. They want Saquon to be fresh in the second half. So he says that's why they don't do it. I said, interesting. That's really good. I would say it's more the stupid penalties that they tend to take on the first 2 drives. The quarterback taking unnecessary sacks in the first couple drives, which happens quite often. I would think those are much more that they put you. I heard Ray Dunn bring it up the other day with the boys. Behind the chains. And when you play behind the chains,
you gotta throw.
Then you put yourself in throwing situations. I think that's far more than them saying, let's save Saquon for the second half.
Yeah, that sounds like the Dallas Goedert, we're saving stuff.
Yeah, for the playoffs.
No, that's not happening.
It is good.
This is that's kind of crazy talk.
He gave me a whole rundown though on that we should also have bottled water and supplies. I'm not kidding you.
Oh my goodness.
Bottled water and food supplies.
Was that in the same email?
Yes.
Hey.
We should have bottled water and food supplies because he believes that in 2025 something's going to happen.
What was the lead? Was the lead the Eagles' first quarter?
No, the Eagles was the first quarter, and it was really long. And then it was, by the way, I'm a believer in this. He even sent a picture of this like preconceived food, I don't know, prepackaged food that saves for the apocalypse.
Wow.
And then he has it in his basement.
You know what? Here's what. He's looking out for you, John. See, he's bad mouthing this emailer. He's looking out for John.
I don't shop for our family food to begin with, let alone family food that we might need in for 6 months.
Put it on the list for Christina to take care of it.
Take care of this, honey.
That's normally a pretty good sign that we can brush that opinion on the Eagles to the side. Just going to take a flyer on that one there. But you know what's interesting, right? Like you bring up all these weird stats that Ruben Frank brings up. All these atypical ways that the Philadelphia Eagles are performing and getting results from. And this goes back to this whole conversation. The whole overarching thing of this is I think there are people in the fan base that are not comfortable with the way the Eagles are winning because it's not typical.
Right.
And I'll take you back to 2014. There were plenty of people saying in basketball, I don't think you can win with the style of play that Steph Curry leads. I don't think you can win with shooting 40 feet from the basket because that's not the way it's been done. And you know what they did? They did it anyway to an elite level, and they became one of the great teams. He changed the sport.
Right, and that's what I always use the 2020 Sixers as an example, right?
Okay.
They had Embiid and Al Horford and Ben Simmons, 3 Titan, huge individuals. Josh Richardson, who could not shoot a 3, and Tobias, and we all know about Tobias. And so your mindset is, maybe they're going to be like a physical team. But Brett Brown was the Euro-style coach. Let's just launch threes. Remember, I need to grow Obama. Remember that
wrong
drop
coach,
that we
wrong
said?
time, yes.
It didn't fit. So, yeah, I think Jalen Hurts can win a football game throwing the football. But what their strength is running the ball, which is why I said I'd rather them keep up with it despite what the norm is in the NFL.
Right, but you get why it makes people uncomfortable.
I understand why it makes people uncomfortable.
I mean, look to the guy to your left right now. John Kincade is a big-time best practices of great teams.
I am.
And you know what the best practices of great teams in the NFL for the past 15 years has been? Throw the damn football.
Around 60-40 on average.
And the Eagles are going opposite of that.
The Eagles are going 40-43. 57.
And just like Golden State, it doesn't mean they can't win, and it doesn't mean they can't win at a high level, but until you see it work again, people are going to be uncomfortable with it.
That's a good correlation on your part, Connor.
By the way, thank you, Connor. Good job, and thank you for reminding me.
What's that?
Next, after the key 3, give me the top 5 teams of the pass first run thing.
Okay, I got you.
With the most passing.
Yeah.
Because, again, if you missed
mean the most passing.
Yeah, if you missed it, the Eagles have the biggest disparity in terms of run-pass ratio.
Yes.
Not pass-run ratio. It's run-pass ratio. So we'll get to those top 5 teams who throw the ball the most in terms of percentage.
It's ugly.
I'm sure it is.
Terrible.
You got the key 3 coming your way next. And, by the way, happy anniversary or happy this time of the year, it seems every single year. The updated graphic of it'll now be 20 years since the NFC East has had a repeat champion.
Wow, that's amazing.
The Fox Sports put that out yesterday. 20 straight years of no repeat champions in the NFC East. It's unbelievable. It is Kincade and Salciunas right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Matvey Michkov.
Back into the corner to Michkov, side to the net. He scores! Matvey Michkov from an
we had like 30 more minutes. I might tell Mike that he has some time before the show starts.
He's got to prep for the governor and get to those drone questions.
I just saw an incredible tweet that I'm going to read for you after the Key 3. But real quick, you had a homework assignment.
I got you.
So the Eagles run the ball more than any team in the NFL in terms of percentage. What, 53?
43. It's 43-57. 43 is pass, 57 run.
So what are the teams that pass the ball the most?
The teams that pass the ball the most, here's where it comes to you. The teams that pass the ball the most are all terrible.
That's what I figured.
In fact, the top 10 teams in the pass more run differential now reside just one potential playoff team, and that's if Seattle makes it.
Wow, okay.
The top 10 teams in run pass differential that run the most have 8 potential playoff teams, and all of them are likely to be in the field.
All right.
So I put on the from South Park, calm down, dude.
Yeah.
Calm down. Yeah. Everybody relax. It's a really good way to win games.
Yep. All right. So before I read you this incredible tweet, it is time now for the Kincade Salciunas Key 3 presented by Von C. Brewing.
Now, the Kincade Salciunas Key 3. Today's best.
Here's what we're going to start off with. And it's a big question that has been discussed on pretty much every show now, I think, here at The Fanatic. And I know it's being talked about. Like, hell, I was at the game the other day as a fan. You were there, obviously doing your journalistic duties. But I was there as a fan, and the people around us were all having the same conversation.
That's an insult to every journalist that's there.
County journalist, man. And the question is whether or not the Eagles can win this way. And this way, we're obviously talking about the offense. We're not talking about the defense when it comes to this conversation. Now, you know my opinion when it comes to this. I believe they can because I believe this is the best way for them to win. So, bottom line is, I'll shut my mouth up here. I believe they can win this way, especially because I believe this is the best way for them to win. I think this team is built through the trenches, both offensively and defensively. They have the best running back in the league. They do have an incredible allotment of receivers in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and when Dallas Goedert is back, he's a great catching tight end as well. As long as Jalen Hurts is throwing to the open receivers, who, by the way, the great offensive coordinator in Kellen Moore is scheming those guys open, then he's going to be efficient. I don't care if you only throw 22 times. If you're completing 70% of the passes, which Jalen Hurts is close to doing that mark this year, then you're going to be efficient and you're going to have big plays. Rob Bonney. What's up, Rob? Good morning.
Guys, I picked this team to go to and win the Super Bowl before the season. At 2-2, I was not really feeling all that confident about that pick. I feel a whole lot better now, especially the way they're playing, drama notwithstanding, because as I look around and see other teams, all of the elite teams have flaws.
Do you believe the Eagles can win big this way with this style of offense?
Can they win a Super Bowl? Sure. Do I think it's less likely? Yes. Do I think that it will surprise me a little bit more? Yes. But I think that there still is a month. A month is if you take it September, like I think Connor made the number that the Eagles' last loss, the Phillies clinched the playoffs like the next, something like that.
Very close to it.
I mean, it's been a long time since we've seen a loss. September to October, by the time we got to Halloween, our opinion on the Eagles completely changed. By the time we went from Halloween to late November, our opinion even got better.
Right.
So I truly believe by the end of December, I may feel a lot more at peace with what they've done. And I feel really good right now. On a scale of 1 to 10, I probably feel like an 8 on the Birds right now. So sure, could they win? I am a little concerned that they will, but it all depends on the matchup, and that's the key.
Adam Schefter from ESPN. Shefty, good morning.
Well, I would say that the one that's keeping them from winning New Orleans most of all would be themselves. Because if they're playing their game, their A game, like we talked about, they're going to have a good chance to go, no matter who they're playing. Like, if they're playing their game, they're the team that has to worry about themselves more than any other. Like, if they go play their best game, you worried about anybody?
I think one of the things that's strange is he very well might get past 2022's passing touchdown.
He could.
That's wild. Like, to me, that's wild because we're talking about him not being as good at passing.
Yeah, he had 2 this past weekend that he threw it into the end zone, which is something that we weren't seeing much of.
If he was to get 7 over the last 4 games, he is going to, and I don't know that he's going to play in the last game, the way things could potentially work out. If he gets 7 touchdown passes down the stretch against some bad teams, he's going to have his best passing touchdown year that he's had. There's a lot about Jalen Hurts' year that I believe has been hyperbole, has been people not liking the style.
All right, that is the Kincade Salciunas Key 3. 3 best minutes from today's show, brought to us by Von C. Brewing Company in Norristown. Check out their Key 3, the OG Pills, legendary Philly Lager, a gold medal winner at the 2023 World Beer Cup for the best American Pilsner. We got the Walking on Clouds, Von C's flagship hazy IPA, and Johnny.
And also, you can go right over to Vienna with their Vienna Lager, a 2-time Best of Pennsylvania winner with all German ingredients. In fact, next year, there will be another game in Germany.
Yes, Berlin. I saw that.
So Berlin's getting a game.
So
Jeffrey Lurie, don't feel the need to give away home games anymore for us to go elsewhere.
Yeah, please.
Please.
Check them out,
Let someone else do
VonCBrewing.com.
it.
You can bring some of those beers and drink them and then go skiing afterward. Get 2 adult extended day lift tickets to the
That's not
Bear
the
Creek
smartest
Mountain
thing.
Resort for just $80 with the Fanatic Deal of the Week. Located in Macungie, PA, Bear Creek Mountain Resort is the ultimate destination for skiing and snowboarding, featuring breathtaking views and thrilling trails for all skill levels. Get this exclusive offer while supplies last at 975thefanatic.com.
Not smart,
deals.
but during the middle of a ski day, I have always had an adult beverage.
Yeah,
when I was old enough.
So I've heard.
That's the way to do it.
All right, real quick. This is a great way to end the show.
How's it end?
Anthony Irwin covers the Lakers.
The Lakers.
Sources close to the Lakers say that if LeBron James asked the Lakers to trade him, they would work with him to find a deal that lands him where he'd rather be. Could have come to the Sixers all off season, LeBron. But also brings back the kind of return that would jumpstart a rebuild. If James was traded, it is also believed that Bronny James would be a part of the deal.
Oh, my gosh. This is the most embarrassing thing. Bronny James is a grown man. He's an adult. I'd be like, Dad, stop.
Leave me alone, Dad.
Dad, let me earn my life. And you know what? The fact that he doesn't contest it tells me he's willing to be part of Dad's jobs program.
All right, so are we trading a package for Bronny and LeBron?
I would.
610-632?
Yeah, the Blue Coats. Guess what? You don't have anything to trade for him. You don't have anything to trade that would generate a rebuild.
Yeah.
Nothing. Sorry about that.
We will give you a lightly used Yershon Gabaselli.
Yeah, exactly. He dunked on LeBron.
You know
that's
what?
right.
See?
Equal trade.
You know what could get you LeBron?
What?
There's something you can move that would get you LeBron James.
What?
The Lakers might bite.
Ooh.
Could be your boy.
What?
He can't get traded.
You're not allowed
till
to
the
trade him.
offseason.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, no.
Hey, support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partner, Window Nation, and make a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research. You can do it at 975thefanatic.com/AACR because cancer research saves lives.
What a way to end the show.
You could rebuild around a Paul George. No, can't do that.
You got Maxie McCain, man.
Yeah, and you're not doing that. Let's hope.
Everybody have a great rest of your day. Mike Missanelli Show comes right next, right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.